All right. I've got the great Dane Gilson of Bug Wranglers in Payson, Utah. Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the opportunity.
Right. It's awesome. We talked a little bit. We were discussing in a group the issue of what do you do over the winter? And you had a question there, and everybody started telling you what you do. And you had an interesting response, which prompted me to flag you and down and say, hey, tell me more about what you're doing, because I'm in the same mind frame of what I'm doing here. So, yeah, how did that discussion happen anyway? Go ahead and tell the story.
I've had this discussion a few different times, so I don't remember exactly which thread we were on. But I remember I reached out. I was looking for some ways to make a little extra cash flow this winter in particular. But most winters, people ask, how do I grow? How do I do this? What do I do in the winter? And I said, take time off. Winter is a great time to enjoy not working so much. And so, that's my take on it. And I have a different approach to pest control than most people out there.
Yeah, no, we were discussing it, and it's countercultural. I mean, you sound like if you say that, you sound like you're a freaking millennial that doesn't want to work.
I wish I were that young.
Right. Okay. So we're getting up there, but you're thinking, okay, what do you do a little bit extra? But your idea of creating, when we were discussing it, a lifestyle business, and it's almost like, well, no, you got to grow during the winter. You got to keep going, and you can double your route size, and you're like, no, let me chill out a bit during the winter. So what's been your philosophy behind that? What's prompting you to look at business that way?
One of the quotes my parents had on the wall when I was growing up was from a guy named David O. McKay. And it was, no other success can compensate for failure in the home. So, I see so many people out there busting their butt, working, talking about working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And I go, what about your family? Do you have a spouse? Do you have children? Do you care about them? If you do, when are you spending time with them? When are you showing them that you appreciate them? So that's always been a driving factor for me.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, because I've had to deal a lot of that in my personal life, in ministry, and dealing with other people about, we can always use the excuse, well, we're doing it for them. And we're working the hours. The question is, can you work the hours or make the money that you need to make without necessarily putting in the 80 hours? And I've been the guy, honestly, that has done the 80, 100-hour weeks in corporate. And then when I started out, and then I got to the point, I said, this is nuts. It's no longer really, worth to work those kind of hours if I'm already established. I mean, at first I had to do it. It was nuts. But then after that, I was doing it. And then I was trying to keep a lot of guys working, and they were running me racket. And it was like, I'm not making that much more to justify the ROI on those extra 20 hours isn't producing the extra 20, 30% that I should be. And it didn't make sense to me anymore. And I started getting into that lifestyle business mentality, to where now I'm probably working 30 hours a week. Mm-hmm. I'm running the business. I'm no longer letting the business run me.
Yeah. And that's, 30 hours a week. I think you can have a very successful business. Everybody's idea of success is a little different, but my idea of success is I can make a great income. I can support my family. My wife doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to. We can go on vacation. We can put money away for retirement. We can do all the things that lead to that retirement successfily,
right?
And live a nice life while doing it. And we can do all that on, like you said, a 30-hour work week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm to the point where I'm focused on multiplication and hiring, and not me having to do. I'm hiring people to do the work. I always tell my guys, the moment I have to do the job for you, I got to find somebody else.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I hired you to do the job, the work. I'm working my guys 40 hours. Right now we're a little slow. It's been with COVID. We've dropped a couple of hours, but they're still making 40. But none of that 50, 60 hours a week. I told them never going to work 48 hours. It's going to be very rare. And I'm just working now on just duplicating. And hiring the people but I'm, if I used to put in 50, 60 on a regular basis. And last year I said, no more. That's it. We're at a point where I can live with the salary and I can just keep growing and not, 20, we're growing 20, 24% a year. I'm happy with that. I'm not going to kill myself. But what led you besides that? I mean, how long have you been in pest control? For what, 2007?
Yeah, this is my 14th season, just finishing up my 14th season in pest control. And I was working for another company, and he actually treated me really well. And that's where I developed my system of what I'm doing. Every location is a little different as to what you've got for bugs, but here in Utah where I'm at, we've already had snow on the ground. It's still kind of warm out. It's getting into the mid 50s during the day right now.
Here, that's a like a cold front, and everybody is wearing jackets, and they're not wearing jackets. They're wearing coats at 50 here in Miami. If it ever get down to 50, like if it goes below 60, everybody looks like, Han Solo with boots and jeans. And, everybody looks like Han Solo out here in Miami. So, so that's cold for us.
Yeah. And over the next week or two, we're going to be dropping into the 30s. We're already freezing overnight temperatures. Wow. And, and then it's going to snow and it's going to stick, and we're not going to have warm temperatures again until February or March. So, I learned a long time ago that customer perception is reality. Mm-hmm. Here in my area, when it gets cold, the customer thinks the bugs are gone because they don't see them outside. And if I've done my job right, then they're not seeing much in the line of bugs inside either. If they aren't seeing them, they don't exist. So no matter what I tell them, no matter how I try to educate them, they just see it as a money grab, trying to get that winter service in. So I rearranged my scheduling several years back when I was working for my prior employer before I started on my own. And we redid the scheduling where we work from mid-February to mid-November, all of our scheduled work. And then we provide coverage through the winter. So if they need anything, they can call us. Right. But otherwise, from mid-November to mid-February, it's downtime. It's not all free time, but that gives us that opportunity to make sure that we're doing the maintenance work on our vehicles that we've neglected, or we're, the same thing with our equipment that we've neglected. We can review our numbers from the year. We can set our goals for the next year. We can do all these business things that we tend to neglect when we're just go, go, go. Right. And then we still have plenty of time for vacation. I mean, I've done month-long road trips. I've done a 2-week vacation with a week-long cruise in the middle of it. I've taken my kids to Disneyland for a week in January. Right. Those kinds of things, because we can. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, in the South, I think we were just having this discussion with another guy early this morning about prices down here and how things are and how expensive it is. Especially where I am in Miami. This is, the further south you go into the Keys, it gets just more expensive. So, here, $100,000 a year income doesn't buy you anything. That's the reality. So and then our prices compared to the rest of the country, even up north, where you can charge 30% more. So I'm figuring this out. Like you, I'm trying to figure out, how do I create a lifestyle business? How do I create a lifestyle for myself, saying, if I made this much and I get to this much, it's going to be enough, and I can invest and I can do things and I'm happy. And I think figuring that out is tough for a lot of people. What makes you content? What's going to be enough?
What's going to be enough for you to be content, to be satisfied? Because I got to the point where I was doing it myself, and then I no longer couldn't. At 50 and all the stuff, it just, you got to work too many hours to produce that magic number to get to that $125,000 per employee magic number. Down here, it's more like 100,000 per employee to manage. How did you guys manage that at your company? I'm just curious because you're in that area, and what was some of the numbers like compared to what here it is, to get a perspective of what can be accomplished? Because I can't buy a house here right now. Starter home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 60-year-old home, $350,000. If I want to go to a 7,000 square foot lot home on a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 400 to 500,000.
Yeah, that's crazy. And every area of the country is a little different, right? There are places in the Midwest where you can still buy a home for under 200. Here in Utah, prices are going up and going up fast. And right now, we sold our house a year and a half ago. We had a 2,700 square foot home on a third of an acre, and we were there for 6 years, paid 200 for it, sold it for 320.
Jeez. A million down here.
Yeah. We've got a lot of rural area, but even there in Florida, you can head north and you can hit some of that little more rural area and get some better options there. I've got a buddy up in the Sarasota area. And,
it's a little bit better up there. I mean, I go about 2.5 hours in between west, and I can find, but again, I'm looking at buying some property like near Lake Okeechobee. Down there. I want to buy some land. Like, land is really cheap over there. 13 grand an acre, where up here at 100 and in the sticks, what we call here the sticks, you're at 150,000 to 300,000 an acre. Over there we're at 13, and I'm looking like buying some nice land so I can, once I start traveling between West Palm and Naples, I can have a little property over there, and I can work from anywhere now. I'm at a point where I was talking about working remote, and everybody was laughing at me, 5 years ago. Nobody's laughing now.
Yeah.
That was the thing. So that's what I'm focused on, is where can I work remotely? I don't have to be stuck to an office where I want to be. That's my lifestyle. I don't want to be. I'm a millennial, man. I'm 50, but I'm a millennial.
Right. I'm a little younger. I'm 41, but I have that mentality, that same concept in mind. But I also look at pest control not just as a lifestyle business for myself as the owner, but at least in my area, because I have these real winters, I bill it as a lifestyle business for my employees.
Right.
And so it allows me to pay them maybe a little bit less, because they're getting, you got to look at their big package, their whole deal, what they're getting out of it. But my target numbers that I start with, I look at median household income. And my goal, my dream is to, I want to make enough money personally that my wife doesn't have to work. So if a median household income is typically based off of a double income, what can I do to provide that off of a single income?
Right.
And I can't guarantee that up front. I mean, median household income in the US is something like $65,000, $67,000 a year. Obviously a new tech isn't starting there, but
you know what the sad part is in Miami-Dade, it's between 46 and 48.
And then your prices are still outrageous. Yeah.
60, way over 80% of people right now will never be able to buy a home in Miami.
Yeah.
It isn't there.
And that's a whole political discussion in the works right there. But we got a huge rabbit hole that we could jump in there. But there's so many possibilities for, economic collapse, at some point. But my company and the way I look at things, what can I do to provide my employees with a nice, livable income?
Right.
And I'm not talking about, the $15 an hour minimum wage concept, but, because that's on me. I want it to be my choice as to how I pay them. My choice is to how well they do. And part of that is looking at it. You mentioned the 125,000 a year kind of benchmark per employee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my area, I can get an employee to, I look at my employee, if they're working full time, they should be bringing in between $200 and $250 a year. Gross.
Right. That's per tech.
And, and then off of that, I need to, if I can pay them upwards of, the big picture goal is 75 a year, that they're actually paid.
Nice.
Now, of course, business owner, we know that costs me more than 75. So
of course
I have to keep that in mind. But, if one technician can bring in $250K a year, well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, they can make a great living. And off of that, if we're doing our numbers right, pest control is super profitable as a business. So we can still make a nice living. My former employer, we were grossing under 200 a year as a business. And he was taking home 50,000 a year after taxes and everything. And at under 200 a year, it should have been essentially a one-man show.
Right.
And, he was running it a whole lot bigger. He was running the office, which was, with that low numbers, was a 10, 12-hour a week job. He was paying two technicians, one full-time, one part-time. There was so much downtime that I could have done the entire thing myself as a tech. But that was his choice as to how he ran the business. But off of a 12-hour work week, he was making 50,000 a year. And he could have been making, another 25, 30,000 a year by just cutting out one technician.
Yeah. What was he? Did he didn't want to do that much work anymore? He was content. He was satisfied, or he bought
the company as his retirement project.
Yeah.
So he retired from, some big tech company, bought a little pest control company, and just kind of sat there, and everybody needs something to do in retirement. And, 15 hours a week.
It's more like a hobby.
Plenty. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was bringing in enough money for him. And, that was why I ended up leaving, because he had no ambition, no goals, no opportunity for me to grow or expand with the company. So I had to start my own.
And I think that's super vital to have this discussion, because a lot of guys that are growing are thinking just about them. What do I need to make? And they're saying, I can't get anybody to come work for me. And I said, you're offering a dead-end job when you're a solo operator with only one or two technicians, and they're not seeing you hustling to say, I'm never going to be a manager here. I'm never going to grow. I'm never going to get into sales. And this is true for I would say about 80% of the small mom and pop businesses. Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing that you're wanting. Everybody has ambitions. I mean, the quote that young people don't want to work. There's a lot of people who don't want to work. My goal is I don't care about the people that don't want to work. I'm just going after the ones that do want to work. And I got to attract them. And how the heck do I attract them? Well, giving them what they're wanting. And here's the benchmark. You said 250,000. You want to make 75. It's going to probably cost me 80 to 90 as a business owner. So I'm giving away 30% of my, 25, 30% of my chunk, but you're going to live good. You're going to be in the area you're living. You're going to make a good, decent chunk of change. Yeah. That's what I'm shooting for here too. I'm looking at the same thing. I said, I was having a discussion. How do I pay 50,000? Says, Frank, you don't have to pay 50,000. I said, yeah, nobody's paying 50,000. The average technician in Dade, 32 to 36,000 a year. I remember when I was paying my guy 40 and me making 28.
Yeah. You look back and you go, man, that's the wrong direction here. But by doing that, you're building a corporate culture, a company culture that you care about the technician, that you care about them. And when you care about them, they then reciprocate that. And obviously there's turnaround, there's turnover, there's people who don't understand it, they don't buy in,
Right.
but you're looking for those people that do.
Yeah.
And when you find the right people and you can keep them happy and they keep you happy, and if I can pay somebody 50, 60, 70,000 a year and give them essentially 2 months of vacation in the winter,
right?
I mean, who wouldn't be happy with that?
Right.
I mean, there are some people who wouldn't. Some people who would see that 2 months and go, man, I need to be out there cranking it and making more money. Good for them. Those are the people who go out there and start their own thing. Those are the people who go out there and create other businesses that do, or find a job that doesn't give them downtime. And then they look back 10 years in the future and kick themselves for losing out on an awesome opportunity.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm reflecting that in my life. I'm looking at right now, how do I want to enjoy really the next 20 years, 30 years of my life? Definitely not doing what I was doing, not putting in all those hours, not working. I want more time with my kids. I want more time. I'm buying time. That's what I was always trying to do. That it was just, it's an uphill battle. Like, for instance, you're in a valley, right? Are you guys in a valley?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we were having a discussion about that. And the differences in markets. And I always tell people, you need to find that niche. You found it. I think you found that niche. I found that niche. We're really unique because we're at a 50% rental market. I go outside of Miami and it's 10% rental, 20. Here it's 50. You go to West Palm and Broward, it's like 30%, 20% rental market. Half of people rent. So here, nobody wants to invest in contracts.
Yeah.
It's basically a lot of one-time service, which means a lot of upfront costs, a lot of marketing cost. We're not getting like in other market, people are like, what's your retention rate on a service? 80%. We're at 20 to 30%. I got to convert them to a contract after I sold the one time. I got double the sales work to do. So it's finding out. So I figured out a strategy that worked for me. Is we just sell high price one-time services and then convert that 20% after. I got guys here going, hey, I've got a 30, 50% cancellation rate. I'm like, you keep selling contracts and they're going to cancel because it's a one-time service market and you keep thinking you can sell it just like every other part of the country. I got to reverse engineer everything. So how do you deal with that in your market about retention? And then you're basically not charging your customers either through the winter. There's no program to keep income coming in, or the income stops and everybody is off and nobody's getting a salary.
I've moved every customer over to a monthly billing for a quarterly service. In essence, a quarterly service, although we fit all four of those between the middle of February and the middle of November. So we consolidated those four services, but they're paying monthly all winter long. And that allows me to pay my technicians all winter long. And with pay, you've got different ways of approaching it. Even if you are paying your technicians a commission off of the work, so that technically they've earned the money, in those 9 months that we're working, you can have them sign a form that allows you to withhold some of that so that they can get a check in the wintertime. School teachers, that's what they get. My dad was 30 years of school teaching, and the reason he got a paycheck in the summertime is because legally they were doing it through the legal process of withholding part of his pay through the school year so they could pay him in the summer. Just do the same thing with your technicians, and they see it as, once they sign that paper, they forget about it. They just know that they're getting paid every month. They're like, hey, I'm not working in the wintertime and I'm getting paid.
Right. So there's a certain amount of withholding, but you're still getting paid for that quarterly service, because it's really not done until the next quarter. You do the last service in late November, and you're not getting into it again until maybe February. So, and the customer is still paying monthly. And if they need anything, you're there for them.
Exactly. That way the customer's getting year-round coverage. We can sell that, year-round program. And in the wintertime, we have a couple of things that creep up, but they're few and far between. We're usually looking at about a 1% callback in the winter. Right. Sometimes it's the spiders. They bring out those boxes from storage for Christmas decorations and they have some spiders in them. Or you get mice moving in the wintertime. They don't recognize that they're there. We don't recognize that they're there until they show up in their food storage or their pantry or that kind of thing.
Got it. Yeah, we've getting mice very little here. We mostly get roof rats, and with COVID, it's been a nightmare because we've had all those rats from when they closed down for that entire month. Restaurants, everything was shut down. And we've got a lot of restaurants around us. I mean, I can count 50 restaurants within a walking distance. And all of a sudden, it got shut down, and now we're getting rat calls. Like, if I got one rat call a month, it was a miracle. I'm getting 3 to 5 rat calls a day. And exclusion is, we're looking at exclusion now as being part of our service where we didn't even get into it. It wasn't even... We get no calls. Nobody calls us. So why get into something that nobody calls us on? All of a sudden, everybody's calling us. I think we got to do rat service. So that's been for us. Like, you would think mosquito would be so big for us down here. People have gotten used to the fact that we got mosquitoes. And, they go out and spray their own yard and fog it, mist it. City does a pretty good job for the most part. Mosquito isn't that big for us. We've tried. It's just not huge. We can't sell it. Well, most of the time down here, it's very expensive. It's a luxury ticket item.
Yeah.
Having a guy come out because we got to do it every 2 weeks. This ain't lasting no night. That thing that is going to last for 90 days. Yeah. Good luck, man. I used massive doses of that. 2 weeks. All of our major properties are done every 2 weeks, and it's a luxury ticket item. Most people can't afford to have a guy come out for $65, twice a month. It's not going to happen. So we got to figure it out. My big thing has been lawn and ornamental, for years. And now we just started we took a break, didn't add any new customers for like 6 months, especially with COVID, it got slow. And now we're starting to go back in with just the higher end lawn care service, the monthly premium platinum service. We have actually a platinum service. My tech is like, bro, all you're selling lately is these platinums. That's it. That's all I'm going to sell. Monthly platinum services. We're not getting into these yards that don't want a premium service. Because then it's like, oh, I've got weeds and I'm coming every 2 months and you're still going to have weeds. It rained. I mean, we just got hammered with rain. We're in November. We got a tropical storm and we got probably 20 inches of rain in the last 2 months.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So adapting all this and trying to create a business model, and when you're small and you're trying to, what do you add and what do you take away? I just went with simple GHP service, general residential service, and our lawn service. And with that, it's about a 50-50 split right now. We found that works for us. And I don't get into wildlife and I don't get into removal of rodents and none of that stuff I've gotten into. It's not worth it for us.
Yeah. And, that's a great indicator that you have to know your market, because your market and my market are completely different.
Yeah.
I'm in the desert. Mosquitoes, what are those? I mean, we have them here, but nobody pays for mosquito service.
Right.
Or I should say, no, very few people are interested in that. I have one mosquito customer and they called me and specifically requested it. And when I've gone out to treat, the first time I went out, they're like, oh, we've got mosquitoes everywhere. I didn't see a single mosquito, but I'm if you want it this bad, I'm happy to take your money because you believe it works.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 14 years in my area. I have never seen a rat.
Wow.
So in my area, they don't exist. I know they're here in Utah. I've got people up, an hour and a half north of me that talk about dealing with rats regularly. But in my area, no, we don't have rats. I've seen in 14 years, I've seen 2 or 3 squirrels.
So you're in a very unique place to where like people are giving you advice on what to add a service. Like people like do exclusion for wildlife. There isn't any here. We're in Miami. I mean, we get a possum running through a yard. They don't go into your attics. We don't have crawl spaces. We don't have a lot of the problems. Like my exclusion service takes maybe 2 hours to do on average house, finding 2 holes that every contractor leaves and then finding them. And I know where exactly they are. I just go and I plug them and we're done. Exclusion's done. That's it.
Yeah. And I don't do exclusion because of that. I mean, yes, we have mice. Yes, we have some issues, but they're few and far between.
Right.
Typically, if I have a mice issue, it's 2 or 3 of them in their house. You know, I toss a couple of bait stations in a garage and problem solved.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the vast majority of my mice situation. You know, so why would I get into exclusion? I'm a bug guy, not a contractor. I don't have a clue how to, some of these guys out there do some absolutely incredible work on their exclusion, but I don't need to learn how to do that in my market. So I'm GHP. Termites in 14 years, I've seen 4 or 5 active cases of termites in my area. They are here. I did see 2 cases this year of active termites.
And what do you have? And what type of termite do you have?
Western drywood, or not drywood, Western subterranean.
Subterranean. Okay. Yeah. Because we've got subterranean here and Eastern subterranean. We have drywood termite, and there's some cases now that from people reported Formosan, but for the most part, like people, I've never seen a termite tube.
Yeah,
people talk about it all the time. I've never seen a termite tube in South Florida. Lots of drywood, but I told guys they're selling bait stations. I'm like, why are you selling bait stations? Well, just in case they might happen.
Right.
It's like, it's not here. I have never seen one. I've asked termite guys, well, how many termite tubes do you see here? It happens, but I don't see them very often. So I mean, rare.
Pre-treats are just non-existent here. It's not something that people do. We don't have to have a pre-treat on our home when we build it because we just don't have the issues. Even cockroaches. I mean, I've got a handful of places I deal with cockroaches, but again, in 14 years, I've had half a dozen cockroach jobs. And some of that was because my former employer didn't accept those calls. He'd be like, we just don't deal with that. So I know that some of me not seeing it is because he didn't deal with it. Right. But since I opened my own business 3 years ago and I'm taking every call there is, I've had half a dozen cockroach calls in 3 years.
And what kind of cockroach do you have over there?
German and some Oriental.
Okay, some Oriental.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But the Orientals they're not an indoor pest, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, they're just outside pest. The Germans you don't have a lot of apartment buildings then in that area.
No, so since we sold our house, we moved into an apartment, and our apartment buildings here, we've got a big complex of 8 buildings, 3 stories, and 12 units per building. That's a big complex in my area.
Right. Yeah, I've got around me where I'm at within walking distance. We're talking about a 16th of a mile, about 2,500 units.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I'm at.
And in my town, we've got about 40,000 people in the town I'm in, and we've got 2 or 3 other apartment building complexes about the same size as mine.
Right.
And like I say, my complex is 96 units.
Yeah. No. So it's vastly. So let me ask you this. So what is your major call that you get then?
GHP around here, it's wasps, paper wasp, European paper wasp. We get very few, but they're here, bald-faced hornets and yellow jackets, and spiders. Spider season in the fall, where we get tons of calls, but the only dangerous spider we have is the black widow in my area. So, I mean, it's pretty tame. Yeah. Ants. We get some calls for ants. We have OHAs and pavement ants. but yeah, it's pretty mellow in my area.
So if anyone from your town moved to Miami,
they would flip.
They would lose their freaking minds. I mean, we've got 5 major ants that we deal. I just did a house where we had carpenter ant, big-headed ant, and I did also find ghost ant, which ghost ant is the cousin to the OHA. So it's the southern one. It's in the Tapenoma. You got Tapenoma Cecil. We've got Tapenoma melancephalum. Same family. You treat it the same way. Nightmare of an ant when it does happen indoor.
Yeah.
We've got German roach, American roach. We've got 4 types of outdoor roaches that invade homes.
Right.
We got mosquito. We've got, in German, we do a ton of German roach jobs. I mean, I do. At one point, sometimes when it's busy, we're doing 2 new ones per day.
Man, what a different world, right?
Yeah, I know. So when we're talking about when we're going online and we're asking for advice, and everyone is like, you're in such a unique situation. Like literally, your guys are going out, not battling a whole lot. Like, do you deal with bed bugs?
They're here. I don't work with it. I have a good friend of mine that is a bed bug specialist. That's all he does. And so I just funnel anything over to him. I've tried my hand at it. And it's something where I'm not opposed to growing into it. But at this time, I don't get enough of it to bother with going through all the process, figuring it all out, and buying different equipment or different products just for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've done the vacuum, the steam, and apprehend, and we can solve most any problem with that. It's actually a really good product. It's just labor intensive.
Yeah.
It's labor intensive.
And that's the exact same process I've done. I bought the Pulte Cimex eradicator, and I've got the apprehend system, and I've used it, but I bought it all, a year and a half ago, going, all right, I'm all in on bed bugs, and I went to the Global Bed Bug Summit, so I know what I'm doing. But then I've had 2 calls in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's just so how you got 40,000 people in your town. How big of a territory are you covering? Because that doesn't seem like a whole lot for you to, unless there's no competition.
Yeah, so my entire county, and you have to think too, like out here in the West, my county is like half the size of Florida. Maybe not quite, but it sure feels that way.
Right.
So from one end to the other of my service area is an hour and a half on the freeway.
Jeez, that's huge.
And I try to keep things consolidated, but that entire area is about just over 500,000 population.
Got it. So your county.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I did a service because we're looking at route density. We're trying to, improve the route density. I'm just focused now. We were spread out. I mean, we were doing all of our county. I don't even want to go into the other county, and I do only half the other county because it's more than 20 miles away. And for us, that is easily 45 minutes one way.
Right.
With traffic.
And that's the difference. I always have to remind myself that my hour-long drive is 65 miles.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have when school's in, we don't start out on the road until 9, until school traffic dies down, because a 2-mile drive is 45 minutes to an hour with traffic in the morning. So my people are like, why don't you start at 8? My text like, why don't you start out early? I said, you start at 8 and you won't get to your first stop till 10. There's no sense. So we would start at 10 o'clock, our first appointments. I got a buddy who's 45 minutes from here in West Palm Beach. They start at 8. I said, bro, we can't go anywhere at 8. I was there. I was driving all over the place. I said, can't do it in Miami. 8 o'clock, you would have to have so much route density that even with school zones, we have so many school zones. Like literally, you drive here, there's a school zone. Then you drive over here, 55-mile-an-hour school zones. And you can't go anywhere. So I told my guys, nothing before 9. You don't leave the house till 9. And you'll get there in 15, 20, 30 minutes tops. and then your first appointment is between 10. And we do 2-hour appointments. This idea that you're going to give an exact time appointment, you will always be late.
We do 2-hour appointments also.
Okay.
Well, I should say when we have somebody requesting a specific, that they need inside. With our GHP, we've gotten, we're single family residential is what we do. So most of the time with all of our ongoing customers, it's an exterior service.
Right. And
we just say, this is the day we're going to be there. If you need something specific, if you need a specific time, give us a holler.
Right.
But yeah, for years when I ran a window, it was a 2-hour window. And now if somebody needs something, I give them a 2-hour window.
Yeah. So every appointment we make, we tell them it's going to be, usually we do like our initials first thing in the morning, because we're the same way. We're no appointments during the day for any of our services. We show up, we do our lawns, we do our mosquito, we do our GHP service. It's all exterior. Now you think people, it doesn't work because you're in an area where you barely have any bugs. We're in an area where we're just inundated with bugs 24/7 and it works. Our callback rate right now in the summer, about 6%.
Yeah.
It goes down to 1% in the winter because we don't change the protocols up. We just change the product. And we're on a 2-hour window. We're all exterior. Only if we have an appointment and we do our like we try to do all our initials per day per route. Try not to do more than 2 initials a day. So I give my guys an initial in the morning, and then we'll book 1 appointment in the evening on the way back. And then, between that 4 and 6, because we have to work late here. So we're out between 4 and 6. Sometimes we're starting a job at 7, very rarely, but I try to, so you got to get your 8 hours, but they don't start till 9. So by 6 o'clock, they're pretty much done. And that's it. If we tried to do it, somebody, I need it at 2 o'clock. We're so spread out that there's no way we could drive across. We would lose we would lose the revenue of 2 to 3 stops if we tried to do that. And we just can't. So we just tell people, nope, we're going to do it. This is the appointment slots we have. Most people are saying, yeah, sure. No problem. Like people would, no, do you have something at 2? No, we only have it between 10 and noon. Okay, I'll be here. And that's how we do it. So we basically are doing pretty much the same methodology as far as we're exterior only. We do initials. We do our follow-ups. We're extensive on follow-ups. Usually to control a problem here, we're going to be out 2 to 3 times before we can control it.
With us, unless it's ants, ants may take 2 or 3 times to get them under control. But everything else, realistically, that initial service is extra long because we're putting in that extra time. We're doing the interior treatment on that service. We're going around, we're cleaning the wasp nests and stuff off the outside.
Right.
Tossing a ladder up so that we can, I don't get on roofs, but I'll toss a ladder up and climb up it to get better access to higher eaves for second story, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's interesting how similar and dissimilar at the same time pest control is across the country, right?
Yeah.
We're running very similar systems, but man, the pest pressure that you have is so different from the pest pressure I have.
Right. And what we do indoor is we're usually an indoor service is going to take us a complete hour to an hour and a half, our initials, because we deal with all the species when we do our initials. So we know we're going to get silverfish. We know we're going to get American roaches. About 50% of the homes get American roaches. They're just abundant. And 80% of our calls that we get right now, it's about 50, 60. It's ants. So we're going to get ant calls almost the time. And then so we have to deal with American roach at the same time, 50% of the time that we're dealing with 2 to 3 species of ants. And so we go in there, we do our initial, we're sealing, we're putting out stations, we're baiting everywhere. And then we're following up on a week on ants. Usually we have to. We won't get control if we don't follow up on a week. And then about, I would say 60% of the time it gets shot, 2 shots, we get it done. And then that 40 to 20, 80, 20 rule is going to kick in, and we're going to have to do a third service and get it done. And then once we're cleaned, we're on exterior only. But it's a big for us to be able to do what we do because we have it exclusive. Here in South Florida, 0 indoor spray service. So we don't even do crack and crevice. We solve everything with baits, voids, dusts. That's our niche. That's our USP for our client, that they hire us for that. They don't want the chemicals in the home. So that's our brand promise. And then after that, it's all exterior, but we're focused, so we did, going back to my original, how we got into this, I did a number. I said, all right, let me just focus around my area where I am, because we dispatch one vehicle from here and then we dispatch another vehicle from another city, which is 15 miles away, roughly. No, about 9 miles. It's about 20 minutes. And we dispatch from there. And I said, let me just do and see how many homes I have just around me. 5 miles, 50,000.
Man, what a difference. Years ago when I first started listening to podcasts, yours is one that I pulled up, and you were talking about one of the episodes, you talked about root density. And that was the first time that concept had come into my mind.
Right.
And I was working for my old employer, and I started looking at the numbers and going, holy cow, Frank's he knows what he's doing here. The tighter our roots are, the more profitable. And so, at that time, I convinced him that we needed to drop a handful of our customers that were just so far away. Yeah. And we started tightening things up. Now that I'm on my own, I've been, 3 years with my own company. I'm still building that again, but that's been something I've been focusing on, is keeping that root density. So yes, I cover this huge area, but the vast majority of my customer base is, here it's still a little bit bigger than I'd like it to be, but it's about 30 minutes from where I sit to any customer for the vast majority of them. Right. I have a few that are an hour and a half away. Just because I'm at that point where work is work, money is money. Yeah. But
at 45 minutes, people are like, why don't you go to Fort Lauderdale? I mean, if some people know the area, Fort Lauderdale, it's like right there. It's like, it's easily for us where anywhere from where we're at, we're going to be at, even the furthest part north, we're still going to be at 40 minutes one way.
Yeah.
And then we're going up there for one client and coming back. That's an hour and a half wasted. At 125 an hour, we made no money on that client.
Yeah. And that's what, it really started hitting home with me when I hired my first tech and went, wait a minute, if he's making money off of services and he's only getting, 4 or 5 services a day in because of all the drive time, he's not happy.
Yeah. And
if I have to pay him more because I need to make up that difference, then I'm not happy. Wait, these services that are so far out, this is just a loss. So I'm weighing my options on some of those further out places, going, do I just build more out there? So yes, it's maybe it's a 30, 40 minute drive to get there, but then he has a full day and and then a drive home. I'm still kind of back and forth on that. If I can get enough customers, if I can run the numbers and get the numbers up where I want them, then I can do it. And some of that comes down to this lifestyle business again, going, how much do I need to generate, and what are my prices? Because that makes a big difference. I mean, if you're only charging $50 a service, like some guys in my area that don't really know what they're doing yet, I can't do those long drives. But if I'm charging 120 a service,
right,
I can fit 10 services in a day and still get that drive time in if those 10 services are close enough together.
Right. Yeah, you're still, so you're running about $540 a year, roughly around there for your clients.
I wish. I'm still working up to that. But no, so I'm at about, what am I, 117, well, $39 monthly. So plus the initial service.
Yeah, so you're right around there.
Yeah,
you're up there. You're up there in the numbers. Those are good. Yeah, because I'm thinking 100. If you're doing 119 a quarter, roughly, you're just a little bit lower than what we are, but we're kind of high priced for our area, believe it or not.
And I'm high priced for my area.
Yeah, so we're at 85 every other month. We won't do quarterly because if we do quarterly, our callbacks will go into the 20% range.
And because of the technically. Right. Technically, I'm in every other month. I'm just skipping a chunk in the winter time.
Yeah.
Right.
I gotcha.
So yeah, and it's always this, how do I talk about it? Well, I'm every other month, but I'm not getting 6 services. I'm quarterly, but I'm not working in the winter. Right. But yeah, 4 services.
So yeah, you're getting in every, because of the 3 months you're losing, roughly 2.5 months you're losing in the winter. Yeah. So it's kind of like having to figure this out. Like everybody's doing quarterly. I'm going to do quarterly. I tried it and I said, I'm going to move some clients to quarterly and give it a shot. I about lost my mind.
Yeah.
The callbacks went just, I had a buddy of mine, like I said, he's done quarterly. I said, dude, your biggest problem is you're doing quarterly. You can't do quarterly in South Florida. You're going to have a 15 to 20%.
Yeah.
And I showed him the numbers. Said your monthlies and your bi-monthlies, look, you're at 6-7%. All these quarterly calls are the ones that are causing all your callbacks. Don't sell any more quarterlies.
Yeah, I had the benefit of years of data from my former employer.
Yeah.
And so we looked at it and went, look, if we're pushing 12 to 13 weeks between services, 90% of our callbacks are happening after week 10. So if we just pull those in and service every 10 weeks, that eliminates 90% of our callbacks. And the 10% that we're still getting, well, those are legit callbacks where we either missed something or they've got a new pest that's moved in, or something different. Right. Most of those are because we just didn't do as thorough of a job as we should have.
Yeah.
And that's totally on us, and the customer gets that free, no cost callback for us to go back out there and fix our mistake.
Yeah. And that's also a double-edged sword, because if you have a client who, in our case, we're in this environment, they're getting a free service. At one point, the customer says the inconvenience of the free service when I'm getting a callback between every service is now a nuisance. So that warranty that you give actually works against you. It's no longer a value. Now it's a problem, because that's the problem he's having. He's getting 30% cancel rates on all of these clients because they're like, you're just not controlling my promises. You're not going to control 5 species of ants on a quarterly basis when you have calcareous soil, which people don't understand about soil pH, and sun, and then you have the amount of rain we have. We started realizing that the average product is going to really last about 30 days for us, and then we're starting to, how long does it take for that pest to start moving in on its territory? And we have a lot of, like, over there you got like land. No, we've got a dynamic over here where the average home is on less than 6,000 square feet.
Yeah. When I just had the similar discussion in one of the Facebook groups, where I said, hey, I treat, my product lasts about 2 months. And somebody said, well, what in the world is coming back after 2 months? I'm like, well, the wasps are starting to come in. And he's like, well, I treat a wasp nest and it's gone. Well, I do too. I treat that nest and those wasps are gone.
Yeah, you only kill it once.
But the neighbor's wasps, their nest is growing and expanding, and they've got a new queen looking for a new place to nest. And after about 2 months, the product is no longer, the residual's gone, and they start all over again on the property. And so it's not so much a matter of me not killing the bugs, but it's like you said, the product only lasts for so long. Right. And then after the product is broken down, how long before the pest pressure around the home influences the bugs to start moving into that home. Right. And so, we could push to 3 months, but like I say, when we did, our recall or our reservice rate went up. Right. And our reservice rate was never super high, but by dropping down, pulling services in by 2 to 3 weeks, we cut that reservice rate by 90%. I mean, that's huge.
Drastic. Yeah. Right. Knowing the numbers is important, because so you're talking about, like, how much sun do you guys get during that summer?
In the summertime, the sun comes up at 5 a.m. and goes down around 10. So you've got a lot more UV. I mean, UV is a major destroyer of product. Yeah. So you don't have many pests, but then your product is broken down, and the pests you do have, that's where, we got paper wasps.
My guy just goes in, goes doop, and knocks it down. Mud dowler wasp.
I don't have the contract for my apartment complex I'm in right now, and I watched the tech, whatever company is servicing my complex. He came in, there was a paper wasp nest up on the eaves, and he came over, he knocked it down and walked away. And I was like, oh, that's not going to do the job. And, and there's a lot of people I hear, they just are like, oh yeah, I just knocked those nests down. Well, are you actually getting rid of the problem? No. In fact, then I took my daughter over, who's planning to take over the company here in a couple of years. And I said, hey, honey, look, this guy knocked this nest down about 2 weeks ago. Look up here. What do you see? And she's like, a big old paper wasp nest starting all over again.
Right. Yeah. Most of the time when we're spraying, like we're spraying the eaves and we're going, there's never a live wasp there. We never find one for some reason.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's not there. We 12 years, 10,000 homes, maybe 5, 6, 20 times. I'm lucky that I actually see a paper wasp there, and we get mud dowler wasps and we knock those down and the larvae is destroyed and that's it.
Yeah.
And we're just spraying the eaves, but it's like spiders for us isn't a really huge issue here. We probably got 1,500 species of spiders. We don't have really, I was in it for 10 years. Was it 10? Yeah, about 10 years before I actually saw a black widow spider.
Yeah, I see black widows every year.
Yeah.
In fact, I have one in a jar that I kept from this year. Starting my little collection here of bugs. But so treatment, I'm a big believer in that residual product of treating the eaves so that the wasps that come to build, they're either repelled or they land and pick up a product and die and they can't build again. And if I treat those eaves every 2 months, then very seldom is there a wasp nest building in those eaves when I come back.
Right.
Every 2 months.
Yeah. That's been that. So this is why I love these conversations, because I actually learned so much about how different and for some people, like, I got a couple of guys, they're out in, I think, they're in Montana. Their big thing over there is wolf spiders.
Yeah. We get some here. It's
a big problem over there. And it's like, man, so trying to do a lot of things that everybody does, they can't control them. It's just a really big problem. So that's just trying to figure out, what it is that we're doing in different parts of the country. It's definitely a huge eye opener for me. It's a huge education to see that. So you've got one tech now. It's you by yourself and the tech. And how much do you think you're going to have to expand if you wanted to go to a third vehicle? What do you think is going to have to happen?
Oh, I've got a lot of room for growth.
Yeah.
I hired early,
right?
For the purpose of incentivizing myself to push and grow the company.
Yep.
I still want to grow. But I think my big goal, realistically, I think I can retire on $500,000 a year gross revenues in the business, and I can be retired. I can take home a very comfortable $100,000 a year and pay my people well and have the right team in place. For me to go to a third truck, that's why I put out one of the posts or questions I put out was what can I do in the wintertime when I don't have the opportunity to go and push sales? What can I push for that would give me that extra, $15,000 over the winter? Because then I can just go buy a truck and start pushing. I had a salesperson lined up to start this year. We were supposed to meet on March 15th, and March 15th is when my state shut down. So this year's kicked my butt. But I've realized it wasn't really COVID that kicked my butt. It was my web presence or lack thereof. So I've been working hard on that.
Yeah, no, I started with that. When I rebranded, it was all with me before. It was all word of mouth, and it was a lot of landscapers giving us work. And then I decided I don't really want that kind of work anymore. So I built the web presence, and I literally started building up the company with YouTube, blog, and that was huge for us to give us the growth. But are you looking at hiring your sales guy to do door to door? Is that big over there for you, or just from lead generation?
I was looking at door to door. I don't love door to door because I don't love people knocking on my door.
Right.
But it's a valid business model. But it's super expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm weighing the options there. One of the door to door Facebook groups I'm in, people were talking about in pest control getting $600 to $800 a year contract values on the door.
Yeah.
I'm going, well, shoot, if you can pull in a $600 a year contract value, I can afford to pay you, 50, 60% of that
which is the reality of
right.
Most people don't understand. They think they're going to pay 25, 30%. I said, you're not going to get door to door people for 30%. It's up there in the 50 plus.
Yeah. As much as, well, one of the podcasts I was listening to from one of these door-to-door companies. Yeah. He's talking about if in-house, you're looking at about 75 to 80% of your first year contract value going out to your door knocking program. Mm-hmm. If you hire a door knocking company, you're looking at 100% of the first year value going out the door. I'm going 100%. How in the world am I going to pay anybody else? Right. Yeah.
So you got to have it. Yeah. You got to have enough revenue to say, it's going to cost me $300,000 this year to get that program going, but in the next year, it will produce me $1 million.
Yeah. I looked at it. My numbers, I need, for me, a full-time technician is 500 customers. 500 customers serviced every 10 weeks. That's 50 customers a week.
Nice.
And that's 10 a day, which is very doable. Realistically, the tighter the route, a technician with a really tight route can do 15, maybe even 20 in a day.
Yeah, if you got route density.
If it's super tight. And so if I'm basing a full-time route off of 10 with the potential of 15, that gives a lot of room for growth and room for pay raise and different things like that with the technician. Right. Yeah. But every 500 customers to me is a new tech.
Right. Yeah. No, we're trying to run it out to like. I figure we can do well at 175,000 a year to get a base, just to get the route going and get a tech on there. And then hit it up to where it's over 200,000 a year. Down here, the problem that we have is the enormous amount of rainy days we have.
Yes.
And that my lawn route can't be at 100%. It's got to be like at 80.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to have that room to fill in those days that are good.
Yeah. Yeah. We now, like last 2 weeks, we got so much rain. Literally, it was like 3 to 4 days off. Yeah. During the summer. I mean, our time to do work is really in the winter. We get very little rain, and then we start to deal with a ton of fungal disease and stuff that happens in the winter. But even in the summertime, for GHP, it's really tough to get because of the traffic, even though we have. So that's why I was listening. I don't know if you know Dan Gordon with bookkeepers.
Yeah, he just presented for us.
Yeah. Utah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I was listening to him a while over the conference, and he just validated it. Says, a lot of people worried so much about price. Price is going to be set by your market and the competition and a lot of the things that you can't control. I mean, nobody's going to pay you 30% more on average when 9 out of your competitors are charging this. You need to be within, a 5% or more. You're not going to make any more. But where the money's made is in route density. Yeah. And we're looking at, that's why I said, we got 50,000 homes. I already have enough money coming in from the business that I can focus. I don't need to say, well, we just got to take every job. I can say, let's just invest in this area and in these route density areas. That's where I'm doing now, is just investing in those areas this year to build up the route density, because that's where my real profit is going to come from. So we went from a 3.5% advertising budget this year to 10. COVID hit us hard. And so we went to a 10% budget, but we're really focusing on just a handful of zip codes. And, you know, we're going to do a lot of social media and Facebook ads. We're focusing. And then actually, believe it or not, direct mail. I'm just starting a Black Friday because we got so many apartments. And the funny part is that these pest control companies coming in doing every door service, places are filled with roaches because they're not controlling it. We know it. This is 90%, 30% of our business is apartment roach service one time. Huge for us here, which is people like listening to other prices. That's ridiculous. It's huge. So what I do is I said, we're going to start doing a Black Friday in certain towns because I can go in and drop right now 2,500 door flyers in 2 hours and do a Black Friday deal and say, every Friday we're going to be in this area. Every Friday we're going to be in this area, and we give you a special price. Because then I can do 20 in a day. My guys can do just being in that area and knock them all out. And that's a strategy for us. Now, will it work? I have no idea until I try it. But I mean, I know with 2,500 units, and I know that every door service isn't cutting it because they're just spraying the kitchens and bathrooms, and they got a lot of German roaches. We should pull in easily every week just here on one day, 20 services.
Yeah.
And be busy. So it's about, you know, do I need to worry? Do I need to kill myself? Like, you know, work. I used to work when I was doing restaurants, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night when they closed. Nah, no more.
I'm not interested in restaurants. I've had a couple approach me. Like, yes, you know, and I'll do a specialty service. I had a restaurant call me up because they had a bat that got into their restaurant, into their seating area. And so, you know, I went in and caught the bat and took care of it. I'm happy to do that. But man, restaurant service, when they're charging $40 a service and going, no. And especially if I have to get up early or stay up late for that. No, thank you.
Yeah. We were between, for like the small little, like Subways type of sandwich restaurants, we were $85 a month. And people thought, you know, like people are charging $45. I'm like, I ain't touching it. And then for full service sit down restaurants, you know, 2,000 to 3,000 square foot facilities, we were at $135 a month. And I wasn't happy with that because my guys had to go in either at 6 a.m. or I had to get up and go in at 6 a.m. do the service before the restaurant opened, or go in after they close, which usually here is midnight. People are open. I mean, we're open till late. I mean, in a lot of places. Well,
this one that I did the bat at was a large full service restaurant. And I asked them about their pest control, and they're paying $45 a month. I'm going, oh yeah, I'm not even interested.
I make more than that on a house, and on a house that we don't have to wait on the customer. We don't have to make an appointment. We're making 85 every 2 months. We're in and out 20 minutes, usually. Yeah. By the time we clean, sweep, spray the perimeter, treat doors, windows, average service is 19 minutes here.
Yep.
For us.
20 minutes is my goal.
And we're done, and everybody's happy. The customer isn't complaining. My tech isn't frustrated. You know, he's not like, oh man, these guys are always complaining. We don't have that. So they're happy. I'm happy. The customer, it's a win-win. Why mess with it?
Yeah. No, there are companies that want to focus on that. I am happy to let them. You know, it's the same thing. So, you know, I don't do L&O. I'm licensed for it, but I sub it out. So I'll sell it. And then I've got a company that's an L&O only company. So I don't have to worry about them, you know, trying to steal my customers.
Right.
And I'll sell it. I sub it out to them.
So how do you do it in L&O in the desert?
You know, we've got some of the biggest, most beautiful green lawns in the world. We shouldn't, but they're there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was like, you're in the middle of the desert. How are you having L&O that big? Yeah, mostly here it's not lawn. For me, it's mostly ornamentals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a lot of beautiful trees and beautiful bushes. And I was down in Florida last month in the Tampa area.
Okay.
And went down to visit my friend down in the Sarasota area. And, you know, Like, whoa, oh, this is what people are talking about. This is why they have these issues. Yeah. Out here, it's just, if you've got a 1/4 acre lot, it's a 1/4 acre of grass, and any trees or plant or anything or things you've put on that lot.
Like the rare oak tree or whatever that's out there. No, here it's, I will have I'm not kidding you, I will have a 8,000 square foot lot with 1,000 feet of lawn and about 8,000 or 9,000 square feet of shrub all the way around it, 10-foot, 15-foot hedges that we're having to treat and spray with. They'll stick 20 palm trees on it, that we have to treat. And it's a whole different world. I mean, down here, it's a whole different world. Then I'll go to some places like Montana. I got one, Steven, who's in Montana, says, Frank, I have to drive 8 hours to see a person.
Right. I have to drive 8 hours to see a tree.
Yeah. See, so he's like, don't you have like local CEUs? And I says, you don't understand. The next nearest town, I think, is 4 hours away for me to go and do to see people. It's so remote out there.
Yeah.
And I'm here, like, we got, 2.2 million people in a county.
And I've got 2.5 million, I think, in my entire state.
In the state.
Yeah.
So that's what we have. And I'm looking at entering Broward, and I have to go after it because it's further north. It's a more affluent market. It's more Anglo. We're 65% Hispanic. And it's a huge problem for us because it's primarily a lot of illegal immigration we have. And so people aren't making the money. It's 50% rental market. It's very difficult for anybody to pull it off here. And so we've got to go to the next county now. So we're focused on the next county over. And that should give us a lot more stability for growth, that we can create that synergy to keep adding. I set a 5-year goal to cover everything from Lake Okeechobee down to the Keys.
Nice.
In 5 years. And I think with the synergy we're building, we're able to, nothing happens in the economy, and everybody's got a 5-year plan that, just got punched in the face,
Yes.
So I'm making that plan, but I think with the synergy, we'll be able to enter into Broward, hit West Palm Beach, and then jump across to the Naples area and do that Marco, Naples right below Fort Myers and just under St. Pete and that area. And you go hit all that area down, which is nice. It's pretty much a lot of old money, retirees and vacationers. So we're looking at, that's the goal right now. And then I think with that, I should be really, really happy because I need to be able to create that nest egg to sell it later on.
Right.
My kids are small. My boy is 6. My little daughter is 11 now this year.
You don't want to hold on that long. in the hope.
I don't think it's going to happen. So, it might, who knows? My daughter is pretty savvy. I think she has a better shot, I think, than he does at it. She's a firecracker, but I'm looking at, getting to that 5 million and then selling it. And, that's probably the goal right now. Is I was looking at 2 million, but that wouldn't get me the retirement I want. I mean, I still got to live another 20 years.
It's amazing when you start running numbers and go, $1 million is great. I mean, that's amazing. But when you invest that $1 million, realistically, you can pull 4% a year. And if you pull 4% a year, there's a whole process. There's a book on all this that I think it's 87% chance that money is going to last you the rest of your life. Yeah. Well, 4% of $1 million is only 40 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you can retire on that in another country.
Yeah. Not here. I mean,
not locally.
I would need, by the time I retire, I would need to be in a higher tax bracket than I am now, probably about 130,000 a year.
Yeah.
If I want to live here, if I want to stay here. Plus, if I sell my business right now, we're great. We're at 15%. What do I know it's going to be like in the next 5 years? And then you're sitting on a business that is 5 million, but the government's going to take 20, 30, 40% if they want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hard, man. That's a hard pill to take. You built that up, and then the government wants 40% on that capital gains.
Yeah.
For something you built.
Yeah, you mentioned Dan Gordon. He just presented for the Utah Pest Management Conference, and one of the things he touched on was that we don't know what's happening with taxes, new political climate, and even if taxes don't change in the next 4 years, what's going to happen in years after that, or this kind of stuff. But he touched on that, and he did a scenario, and he says, if currently you sell for this much, you keep this much. If the tax rates change like they're talking about, you sell for that same dollar amount and you're taking home half what you thought you would.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts. That's
that's hurts.
Not cool.
Yeah. So guys that are like, people that don't want to grow, and that's always, it's like being an employee has its risks. Not growing your business has its risk, unless you're in a part of the country where, hey, if I make 50,000, I can live like a guy who makes 100. And then what are you going to do when you're not going to pass it on to your kid and you only have a $150,000 or $300,000 route?
Yeah.
How much is that going to get you in the next 10 years? It's a huge risk, unless you take that money and you say, well, I'm going to invest in real estate. I thought I got a couple of guys.
Right.
They started taking their money
somewhere.
Yeah. And they started taking the money out of the business, and instead of building the business, they're just taking the profit out and buying rental property. And that's a strategy, but you need to have a serious strategy other than just living off your business.
That's the key, right? You have to have some sort of strategy, because I've seen people who, these guys that are out there in my area doing $50 services. This one guy, he says $50, any house, any problem. Like bed bugs? Yep, $50. I'm like, oh,
Jesus.
Right? You don't know your numbers. You don't understand what you're doing to yourself. You've got to build a business. You've got to have profit, not just owning your job. I mean, it's okay to own your job. There's nothing wrong with owning your job. But if you aren't doing something to invest for the future, then when you can no longer do that job, you're broke.
Yeah, I mean, I got to the point I couldn't do lawns anymore. I mean, I had accidents and I have knee problems. And
I mean, you're getting old, Frank, 50 years old, man.
Brother, man, you know how much that 70-pound mosquito backpack feels like when you've done 5 of them in a day?
Oh, yeah.
I have a double hernia repair from doing all this crazy stuff. I got a broken wrist. This is when I was 18, a car fell on me and dislocated this wrist completely. It completely came off. And so I can only squeeze so many triggers before at the end of the day, I'm really in pain. So there's, a lot of things that, I had a car accident when I was 25 and messed up my knees. So walking on uneven surfaces for 10 years on lawns, it did a number on my back and my feet, where I've got to wear, arch supports and therapeutic, and I got to do stretching every day. I mean, my morning's routine is like a yoga class,
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that you don't think about when you're young. I didn't think about it. And then all of a sudden, dang, I'm turning 50 and it started to, and I'm like, nah, not doing it anymore.
When you're young in pest control, it's easy to forget that we're a manual labor business because the labor we do may not be as intensive as some of these other manual labor jobs.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're still putting that pressure on your body. You're still working it, and your body can only handle so much for so long.
Yeah.
It's like my brother-in-law was a mailman, and people are like, all he does is walk. Well, he walks with a 75 pounds of mail on his back, and it just wears him out. He's got bad knees. He's got bad ankles, bad feet, so we need to recognize that we can do pest control longer than you can do some of these other manual labor jobs, but it still wears on us. We still want to get to that point of being able to either retire or move into the management leadership position so that we can do less. Yeah. And if you do it right,
I was doing both. Then I said, I'm going to give off the L&O and I'm going to build up the GHP, which is what I did. And then I started working on the GHP, but we still have to do so much kneeling. We got to do a ton of kneeling in my business to hunt for stuff and doing it. And a year and a half ago, I finally said, nah, I'm not going out in the field anymore. I'm going to focus on growing management. I'm going to stay behind, get the phone, focus on sales, focus on marketing. And it was tough, believe it or not. I mean, I had my heart set on it, but emotionally, mentally, it was hard for me to just give up the field and say, I'm not. And I had to literally remind myself, I no longer do that. I delegated that and I don't do it anymore. And I don't. So now I go in the field twice a week, where I only deal with, my guy's been out there 4 times. He hasn't been able to solve it, which is rare. And it's usually that 0.1% of the time where I'll go out and say, okay, what did he miss? Like apartment roach service where we've gone 4 times and we still got a huge population. Something is really infested above, below that it's out of his control. And I get a second eye on it. Go out to like yesterday, a new startup on a lawn that was complicated yard. And I said, listen, we got to check all this irrigation, this, here's all the problems, walk my tech through the problems. And then that's it. But that's my and sales. That's all I'm doing. And I don't even go out for sales. We're doing it over the phone. I sell everything over the phone. I sell, $128 a month lawn jobs over the phone. Mm-hmm. We don't go out. I mean, I literally, my roach services are sold via text. Customer calls and we're calling back and they don't answer. I just send a text. Here's a link to our website where we have a demo video. Here's our order form and here's our price sheet. Yeah. My closing ratios are just the same as if I picked up the phone and called. You can't do that here in my part of the country. You understand? People here are busy, Miami. They don't want to hear from nobody. They don't want a sales call.
These people that say you can't do that in my part of the country, sometimes they're right. Most of the time, I think they just haven't done it. They haven't figured out how to do it right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still working my web presence and stuff. It's, I have a new website that's going live here this week. So changes, improvements, right. But I've made sales off the website where they have that ability to just click through and put their information in and sign up and put in their credit card. And then I get a text message saying, find a place to fit these people, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're doing now. We're getting the leads from our call center. I got a 24-hour call center. I don't even take live calls. I can, but I don't. And I pay a call center to take all my calls, and I'll get, about a lead an hour. And all I'm doing is sending a text. Here's a link to our website. Here's our demo video, how we do our service. Here's an explanation of the commonly asked questions. And here's our order form, and here's our price sheet.
Yeah, and I think that's brilliant.
And 15 minutes later, I've got an email back with a form filled out. I'm sending the contract. They put in their credit card. We book the appointment, and that's my day.
Yeah. And that's the capabilities of that are just enormous.
Yeah.
Is there benefit to sending somebody out and doing an inspection and having that in-person sale? Yes, there's a benefit to that. But that benefit is not necessarily balanced by the loss of the people who don't want to spend that time.
The ROI isn't there for us because when you look at the cost of sale, which let's get into that because we're getting into numbers, the cost of marketing, but people don't calculate the cost of the sale.
Yes.
And when I don't have to pay a salesperson, 25% plus a vehicle, plus insurance, plus fuel. It's like having another tech.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I'm looking at numbers, like I want a technician to bring in an average of $150 an hour in the door. Well,
that's hard.
If I'm then taking that technician and those are my goals, so I'm not always reaching it, but if I'm having to take that technician and turn them into a sales guy, well, are they generating $150 an hour while they're out there trying to get a sale? No, because
they're not trained to do sales. And usually technicians are not wired. If they usually are, they're going to start out on their own. With me, I figured I let my technicians be technicians. What I do is I tell them when you're in the home, convert them, upsell it, convert it, see if we can get them when you're doing the last follow-up, see if they want to sign up for the maintenance service. That's it. But for me to go out in Miami, and if I had to get 10 appointments a day, there's no way, unless I was selling a large amount of high-end services like termite, that's when I have to send a sales guy out to actually do a physical inspection to figure out. But here it's easy because it doesn't matter. It's going to be a tent.
Yeah.
Fume is what we do, and you can fume a house for $1,200 to $1,600.
Yeah. I think there's a company in Utah that does fumigation, but I'm not positive.
But it's usually going to be like
$30,000
if they do a fumigation job because there's only one guy in the state.
Yeah.
Here, they're a dime a dozen. And so the average tent job here to solve. So if I go, it's just to sign a contract.
Yeah. It's
not going to be really you have termites, the pellets are falling down. You sent me the pictures. I know you got termites. Just tent it. It's going to be here. We're going to be back next week and sign the contract and they're done. That's really but for the average GHP contract to pay that 25 when our conversion rates, I did the test. Our conversion rates are actually the same as if I picked up the phone, talked to them. And I used to go out to every job to do L&O. And then I figured out a formula to calculate that yard. And I can measure everything online and I don't even have to go there.
Yeah. The company that I sub out my L&O to, I give them a call. They ask for the address. They pull it up online. They map it all and they give me a price.
That's it.
You know? And yeah.
I mean, it has
price
weeds.
Is actually based on the work that they have to do versus, just a general like, it's a quarter-acre lot. It's $50 or whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, it's about knowing your numbers and doing the math.
If you know your market, you know who your client is. And a lot of people don't know who their client is. They think their client is everybody. I know who my client is.
Yeah.
We've got it down. I have 3 things that I've always said you need to have a client. They have to want what you have. They have to have the ability to pay. But most importantly, they got to have the willingness to pay.
Yes.
And I got a lot of people that have the need and they have the money. I mean, they've got 2 Bentleys in the driveway. No kidding.
Yep.
And they're not willing to spend $120 a month on their landscape. And I'm like, I walk away. I can't help you because that's not what I sell. And who is my client? People making over $150,000 a year. They live in X zip codes that we have. We know where the client is. They're the most affluent clients. That's what we go after. And in our roach service, we know how to go after that because that's for our general public. But they're not going to have us around in a home spraying their house when they're making $50,000 a year.
Right.
Every month. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic unless they're making over $100,000 household income, which is 20% of the market. And then 20% of the market never hire anybody because they can do it themselves. So we have like a 10% really the market. That's really my client. So out of 2.8 million people, it might be actually 280 to 300,000 to 500,000 people that are actually buying pest control. And we've got 220 competing companies and 1,700 technicians on the road. I know my numbers. I know my competition. I know what I'm going to be able to do, what I'm not. And that's just how I've been able to figure it out and say, where do I want to be? The niches I want to be in. What do I want to do? And I finally, because I didn't have the privilege. See, you had a privilege that people don't understand, that you actually worked for a company and you saw where all the mistakes were being made. And then you were able to learn. I didn't. I went in for 3 years pretty much with one guy that was the same way. He didn't want to grow the company. He was done. He actually died 6 months after he signed my paperwork for me to become a technician. And he said, I have cancer. I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm on therapy. And I said, dude, and he was a great guy, great human being, but he was done. He was 70 something years old. His children didn't want the business. They had their own business. And I basically said, look, I'm going to go into business for myself. But I got trained to mix 5 products in a big giant 100-gallon tank and then spray it to everybody. And that was my training. That was my pest control training. I didn't know the business.
Thankfully, yes, I did learn some from my previous employer, but on the downside, that we had a 50-gallon tank, one product, and that one product is what we used on every house.
Yep.
And it wasn't until, and I was with him for 11 years. And so about 3 years before I left is when I started listening to podcasts, when I started learning.
Right.
So my journey is now about 6 years old. of actually learning what to do, listening to your podcast, listening to the guys at, Pest Cemetery and some of the other the websites out there, and going, oh, there are other products. Oh, there are other things we can do. Oh, there's different classifications of products.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything was bifenthrin, stick bifenthrin on 100 gallons, and then not even put the amount that you need to hold a gallon. You're putting 10 ounces in there because that stuff's expensive, man, at 43 cents an ounce, and so not even put a whole gallon, into a 100-gallon tank. You're putting, 5-6 ounces, and then everybody gets bifenthrin. Yeah. Doesn't matter what you have. I think
we were 20 ounces in a 50-gallon tank of bifenthrin. So we're less than half an ounce to the gallon.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
And then power spray, we're looking at 3 to 5 gallons to the house of just dump it on the outside of the house, and you call it done. Well, now I've got 10 different products in my truck, that I'm using, that I'm, bifenthrin's one of them. Yes, it still gets used a lot, but I have other stuff.
Right.
I have this guy, I reference this guy doing $50 jobs because like I say, he just doesn't understand. I have one product that, Alpine WSG at full mix rate is pushing $30 a gallon to mix.
Yeah.
And, that's the product I'm going to use if I need that product.
Right.
He can't even touch that product because he doesn't have the margins for it. All he has the availability to use is bifenthrin.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we got the same thing with people like, you're using, we use, before it was actually generic, we were paying the price at $300 a bottle for a pound of heritage fungicide. And people are like, oh, that stuff is super expensive. There's no way we could use it. I said, guys, you got to learn how to use it. And, we use it and we use it, it'll last me all season, one bottle. And we figured out how to make the applications where to. And so and I got a lot of guys that I'm training here locally to do LNO because nobody knows how to do it. And they're saying it's going to cost me a fortune with all the chemicals the manufacturer's telling me I got to use. I said, dude, you don't need half of that to get it done. So learning the numbers, learning your market, understanding what your goals are, having a plan. Man, that's really the key. If anybody's wanting to jump into this, I think if anybody's wanting to jump into this, this is going to be a great podcast for them. So what's let me ask you this. You say you got your website running. What's your website?
Bugwranglers.com.
And you managed to get that.
Yeah. I could not get the email address bugwranglers@gmail though, because somebody has that.
Right. No, but if you get, you're going to just get your name at bugwranglers.com. You can just get the email. I always got I didn't like using generic emails. I like having the ones. Yeah. People like, how did you get Nature Pest? I said, bro, I got extremely lucky. I mean, it was like, I was searching, I was talking to my wife. I said, I got these 3 names. Which one you like the best? And I said, I like that one. I said, that's where we're going because there's not a whole lot to choose from. And somebody's going to buy it up in the next 15 minutes with my luck.
Right.
So I bought it and that's what we went with. But it was extremely, extremely difficult to find a name for your company. And the fact that you were going to get Bug Wranglers.
My wife and I were sitting there. She asked me if I start my own company, what am I going to call it? And I was like, Bug Killers. I don't know, something. And then I had this image of a cowboy riding a bucking ant, which is now my logo. I see it behind
you. That's what I'm seeing behind you there.
So
okay.
Go to the website take a look at that image. It's great. And then our uniform is a Western dress shirt. So it's got the pearlized snaps.
Sweet.
Blue jeans, a belt with a buckle, with a Western style buckle.
Dude, who did the art for you?
Initially, I had it done on like 99 Designs or Design Crowd, one of those. And just got lucky, got some incredible work. Yeah,
that's actually really nice looking that you got back there.
Yeah. And then I've got a graphic designer locally when I need tweaks and stuff to it.
Got it.
But yeah. And so I love it. I love I think the name fits my area, the West. We have half a dozen rodeos in the valley here every summer.
Right.
So it fits my area, and I was able to get the domain name and everything. And it's great.
That's amazing. So now you've got, so what are you doing for marketing? What's working for you?
Right now I've been doing Google Ads. That's, I don't know if it's working as well as I'd like. Most of my customers are coming word of mouth right now. So I'm still figuring out this whole online marketing stuff. My former employer, I learned a lot about how to run a business, but not the marketing side.
Right.
He had his customers and he didn't put any money into it. So I didn't learn any of that. So
what's a Google AdWords running you right now per click?
20.
Okay.
It's
yeah,
crazy.
we're somewhere around 2024. But here, what I noticed is, for me, when I saw the trend with online, we're see the difference between you being in a tighter knit market where people actually talk to each other.
Yeah.
People here don't talk to each other. I would do jobs and I'm like, hey, you've got this problem on your head. You might want to talk to your next door neighbor. Now, literally from door to door, it might be 25 feet.
Right.
They don't know their neighbor. And they were like, no, we don't know who they are. We don't talk to them. And I would, like, all the word of mouth business that I used to get was from landscapers doing the landscape job and say, hey, I found this tree. It has a problem. I'm going to tell the customer to call you. That's how we got the landscape business. When it came to the GHP side, we barely get any referrals. People do not talk to each other. People won't admit they have a bug problem. Very wealthy, people. They're not going to say, oh, we've got a bug problem. So for us, we started noticing, 8 years ago, those referrals drying up where people weren't referring us any business. And we needed to find out that we had to go to direct marketing. And that's how we started doing the direct marketing and the SEO and all that, because that was dying. So, we hit the walls. Like, I hit the wall this year. COVID hit us, knocked out 20-30% of my business overnight. It started to recover. But we hit the wall on the growth. I had to go now from a 3% marketing, which was giving us 25% growth a year, to spending 3 times more.
Yeah.
To 10. And we're still not hitting it. It's not going there yet.
Yeah. Probably my number one right now is BNI, Business Networking International.
I hear great things about it from all over. Nobody here wants to meet, man. It's just too hard.
Yeah. So I'm in a chapter and I've got my wife in a second chapter. And between those two, we're doing okay. That brings in,
sweet.
They each bring in about 10 grand a year off of that.
Right.
So that's
a good,
that's meaningful. And it's given me a wide range of people that I can refer out to as well.
Right.
So it's been really beneficial for me.
Right. So referrals is still big for you. See, we're trying so many different things that is unorthodox. Like when people said, oh, how are you going to make money on YouTube? I was the only guy on YouTube in South Florida that was talking about plants. I found the niche. I found out where nobody was serving and said nobody was talking about bugs. Nobody was talking on YouTube. And I know a lot of people are on YouTube searching. I did the research. I said, I'm going to put on blogging and YouTube. People are like, it's nuts. That's never going to work. And that's how we brought in, on a 3% budget, 80% of my clients. So again, knowing where you're at, knowing what's out there, doing the research. Everybody told me it wouldn't work. What's funny? Everything I've done till now in 14 years, everybody says couldn't be done.
Yeah.
Couldn't do organic, can't do natural in Miami. Nobody wants it. That's junk.
Yeah.
Finding
I'm actually right now, I'm in discussions with a local company. I'm hoping to find somebody I can buy out, one of these small companies, Jerry Shappert style. And this one that I'm talking to right now, his pitch is organic. And I'm going, he's built a small, I think he's only been open 1 year, and he's got 70 customers, all based off of just pitching organic. Yeah,
because there's a market for it. People do want it.
Yeah.
And what we sell is an organic facilities compliance service. So in other words, if it's lead building, if it's and we have to explain what it means to be organic, is that we're not just putting product unnecessarily. We're targeting it. Half of the time we're removing the product when it's done, because we use baits. We put it in stations. We get it done. And there's a huge market for it. If you're able to honestly be honest, we want to say we're not going to spray Essentia indoor, which is not what we do. We would never spray Essentia indoor because the allergic reactions that you can trigger or asthmatic, the risk isn't for me. We use a ton of it outside, a ton. We probably use of natural oil, essential oil outside on plants, probably about 100,000 gallons easily of mixed product a year, very easily. I've already lost track on how much we do, but we make a blend. We figured out which blend, because it just won't work Essentia by itself. People are like, you use Essentia? Yes. You use Ecovia? Yes. We use another product too, and we have to blend them, or else you won't get the control with just one product. And we do a ton of ornamental. So we have 100%, 95% of all our gardens are on natural ornamental. People said it can't be done. You can't control diseases. You get the right mix, you can control diseases. Yeah. So it's figuring it out, but take the chances figuring it out. I think your area will be great probably for acquisition. We just can't find anybody that we can acquire because of our niche.
Yeah, you've got to find the right.
The culture won't be there, and we will never be able to turn those clients around, turning those employees around. We tried going into other companies and doing a test and saying, let's see if we can convert you guys to eco-friendly what we do.
Impossible. They just don't want to.
The technicians was an uphill battle with all the technicians.
Yeah, and Jerry Schappert shared his process of looking for the little guys, looking for these people that are just, maybe they got one season or 2 seasons under their belt. They haven't built a big enough company to actually support themselves. Yeah. And they're like, this is more work than I thought, but I want something out of this customer list. And those are the kinds of things I'm looking at and seeing if I can
see, that's how you get the instant route density.
Yeah.
That's where it's smart to buy a business that you don't have a culture set up. You don't have a whole bunch of employees you got to turn around. The customers aren't really that fanatical about whatever service is up. It's pretty much the attitude is everybody does the same thing. Yep. So that's an easy one. And that's smart because then now you get instant route density. You don't have to develop that market.
Yes. And then I just have to, once I buy them out, it's changing their perception of everybody does the same thing to recognizing that there's a reason I charge more because, everybody has access to the same chemicals, but I'm doing this, we're providing this wonderful experience that nobody else is providing.
And I think that's where most guys are missing it. You just nailed it on the head, where a lot of guys are missing it today, that really all we can really sell is an experience because everything else is a commodity.
Yeah.
Chemical is a commodity. What we sell is, if you want to build it great, it has to be that great customer service experience from start to finish, knowing who that customer. People say, well, Frank, you do emails and texts and you don't talk to anybody. I says, you don't understand. That's what my customer wants.
Right.
I call them on the phone 5 minutes. Like, I get the text. I got a live person answering the phone 24 hours a day so that we don't lose anybody. When I get that call, they're getting a call back from me within 5 minutes. I can't get them on the phone.
Yeah.
But I will text them and it says, I'm busy in a meeting. Send me the price. See, but that's, I don't want to quote over the phone because, that's just not personal. That's what you want. That's not what my customer wants. I got 5 videos. I got a page that I made with 5 videos, question and answer, 6 minutes, full demo, exterior service and control demo, price list, and an order form.
And I think that's what makes the difference, right? Because people don't want to just price over the phone. If you call me and say, hey, I've got this problem, and I just say, it's going to be, it's $179 for the initial service and then $39 a month ongoing, you're going to be like, dang, that's a lot of money. Let me call somebody else.
Yeah, I create the value to the system. Yeah.
Right. That's the big key. You're creating that value by sending them to a website where they can see what you're doing. They can see the value of your service.
Right.
And then they see that price, and the price isn't just some random number of this company says $100, this company says 75, and this company says 130. Well, of course I'm going for 75. It's cheaper.
Right. We got it. We're selling it right now. We were $200 before COVID. More expensive on our initial. Our average right now is $165 in the market, and then $65 bi-monthly or $85 quarterly. You know, we were at, for 12 years, $355 starting price. That's for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. For a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, we were at $355. We brought it down $100 for COVID because all of that business, people were just out of work. And we still $100 on an initial more expensive than any of our competitors. This is how we create value. And when I'm explaining to you, it says, oh, this is why it's eco-friendly. This is why you're not contaminating your home. And guess what? This is our guarantee that our technician does it, because it's a step-by-step that I actually send them. So the technician shows up with the booties, with the gloves. You know, he shows up the way it's in the video. That's how we create the brand equity. That's how we create the value for our client, because what they perceive as value is not what you perceive as value. Yes. They're busy and they're like, okay, and I said, look, and I said, now you can show this to your husband, because chances are you're shopping around and you got to talk it over with him. Now you can just forward him a text of this video and he knows exactly what versus what I'm telling you. And then you have to translate it to him. She doesn't have to.
Oh yeah. Everything's lost in translation.
So now I control the process from start to finish, from the marketing process, the sales process, the service process. You know, when the technician forgot a step, that customer is going to call and say, hey, he didn't put those monitors where you said. And so I got quality control in the field where I know my service is about 80% verifiable when we do an initial service. If the ceiling isn't there, if the monitors aren't there, if the bait isn't where it's supposed to be, I can go in and say, yep. And I know in a minute that tech is never going to work out because he didn't follow my protocols. It's verifiable. So that whole of how do you create brand equity? How do you create a USP? This is how I'm differentiating myself. With a guy says, yeah, I'm $65 for a service and $65 bi-monthly. And what are you going to do for that? We create an enormous amount of value for the client. So again, a lot of guys are going to say, yeah, that won't work in my part of the country. Try it. Because it's not your cup. A lot of people are afraid because it's not their cup of tea. They don't like it. Like you said, I don't particularly like selling door to door. I don't like when somebody knocks on my door. Doesn't mean there's a right way to do it. And you have integrity with your client and not oversell it and say, have an untrained sales rep going out, because that's the stigma in the marketplace.
Right. You can do it. You can do it right.
You can do it. You can do it right. Yeah. So, dude. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was to say, I was at. I went to Paul Bello's PJB workshop. Down there
you've been around,
in
dude.
October. Yeah, I try. I'm trying to learn from all the best.
Yeah.
Listen to you. I try to learn from the best here.
I'm listening to them and just regurgitating it. So it's not really that important.
Yeah. He talked about this. One of the things he said, he's like, if all you're trying to do is compete by saying we use this product, well, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're a name brand only company. So what? Right. So what if you only use, Syngenta brand or BASF brand products?
It's a commodity.
The company or the customer doesn't give a rip.
But he can buy results. It now. He can go to Do My Own and buy it the same product. So you don't have anything he can't get anymore.
And they don't care about what product you're using. They care about the results. They care about the experience. They care about, so how do we differentiate ourselves? Not by the product we use, not by saying, we backpack it or we power spray it, but by creating the bigger picture of value, that we're knowledgeable, that we care, that we, and that we provide them what they want and figure out what is it that they want.
Right. Yeah, no, that's totally what I focused on. I guess I have an advantage in that area because of sales. I've been dealing with people my entire life in sales. The marketing part, I still got to learn a lot, especially when the land keeps changing in the digital market space, where I can no longer, before it was sales letter, postcard.
Yeah.
You drop by with cookies. You drop by, 12 contacts a month, a year. You drop by with cookies. You drop by, you send them a letter, you send them a text, an email. Now it's the digital landscape is just, it got so overwhelming. I finally had to hire an agency to do it because I could no longer manage this. It was just, even posting videos on a daily basis, which I'm doing. Like right now, I'm literally posting one video a day on my YouTube channel, and we're growing that channel literally daily now. And that's daunting.
Yeah. When I started my own company 3 years ago, I thought, you know what, I can't afford to hire people to do all this stuff. I'm going to do it all myself. Well, that's what killed me for COVID. My web presence was crap because I was doing it all myself. I'm like, I'm a bug guy. I'm not a marketer. I mean, I can learn it and figure it out, but every moment that I'm spending diving into marketing is time I'm not spending taking care of customers,
right,
and building my business. So yeah, this year, I bid it. Well, I did it last winter and ended up hiring the wrong company. Lost $3,000 to a company that didn't do what they said they would. So, but I hired a new company this summer, and yeah, I'm putting out, $1,500, $2,000 a month just to rebuild my web presence and get things rolling.
And that's what people don't understand. I think I hired a company. I said, let me give them a shot. They were local. I said, let me give them just one thing to do, see if they can do it right. I gave them my GMB account, $200 a month for my GMB account. They totally blew it. So finding a company took me a while to figure out who was referring, and then it's still a crapshoot. You're not going to be able to get it. I mean, we're spending $1,500 on that. We're probably going to have to go to $3,000 a month on advertising there. But people don't get it, that it's not going to be this, I build a website on WordPress and then, for $99 a month, somebody's going to do SEO. It ain't going to happen, man. Yeah. Not if you really want to go out there and hustle. There's so many, I mean, we're getting one post. I'm doing social media daily, doing YouTube daily. I'm doing this podcast once a week. I'm going to add a third podcast now to the mix for a local podcast for pest control. I'm taking a break. I'm actually, from this, I'm going to take a break probably till the end of the year. I'm going to be doing traveling now. I'm going up to Michigan in December to record an entire series for a pest control company that does training. They were on my training on a podcast, and they asked me to do it. I'm going to do a whole series for them.
I think you're going to regret that, Frank. Not because of what you're doing, but because it's Michigan in the winter.
I know. The good thing is I know what I'm going into because I lived out in the Midwest for like 8 years. And I was up in Cleveland and I was up in the whole, I've been to Chicago. I understand the winter up there. It's miserable. But I'm going to be doing that. And then I'm coming back and then I'm doing another webinar for another training company. So, 6 years after I started this, they're starting to take me seriously. So that's starting to take off for me, which is what I want to do later. I enjoy this more, the teaching and the training part. And it's part of my long-term strategy for retirement. So I'm setting the groundwork now for the next 15 years. And I'm doing constantly online, doing something that is promoting my brand. I'm the face of the brand, but it's a constant work. So even the producing daily videos, like I'm shooting out, I'll go out in the field once a week with my guys and I'm taking video of everything. I'm spending more time taking video of what we're doing than, dealing with them. But it's content that I'm creating every time I go out. And it's a lot of work. But it's the ROI is there, but it is volume over a lot of the time. It's volume over quantity, over quality. And just, this exposure, like we're trying to do this and, this hopefully will get you some business out in your ear because people will see you. You'll show up and it's like, dang, he's got a 1.5 hour talk about bugs. What the hell did they talk about for 2 hours?
A little bit of everything, man.
A little bit of everything, but yeah, man, we're going on 2 hours now. But I'm probably going to set a record. I'm going to set a goal for myself. I'm going to call Guinness And I said, what's the longest running podcast on right now? I bet I can top it talking about bugs, on Guinness and get a world's record on the longest podcast about bugs, and pest control. I think I'm going to set that as my goal for next year, man. I'm going to call Guinness up and say, what's the record there? I'm going to do it. Watch. And I'm Cuban. I can talk for 10 hours. Most people are like, does this guy breathe? No. But anything else you want to talk about, Robbie? We could go on for hours. You want to do it? You want to
right.
do it?
I could talk forever on this stuff, right? I think that's, like you say, going on 2 hours already and not feeling winded yet. Yeah. But, at the same time, right, I listen to plenty of podcasts and recognize the time constraints. I'm good. I'm good. I don't have anything to do. My techs are doing their thing. I mean, you probably have to go work. I don't know. You're getting snow already. So now you're good. Yeah, my season's over. I've got 2 jobs in the books for tomorrow, and that's it for scheduled work for the year.
Hey, let's talk about something we haven't talked about on the podcast before, and with you and what you're doing. How was this for you personally? You obviously have a wife and you had a home, and you tell your wife, hey, I think I want to start up. And man, how did that conversation go?
I had a meeting with my boss. My wife and I were getting ready to fly to Cancun. It was right after Thanksgiving, 3 years ago?
Okay.
Almost.
You're back.
That was crazy.
I know. You lost your power?
Yeah, just had a power surge. Boom, everything drops. I've got a lamp behind my computer for good lighting, and everything turns off and then just flashes right back. But the internet didn't want to come back quickly. Well,
the router takes a while for it to reset itself. It happens to me all the time here. Especially when we get really bad thunderstorms, we lose a lot of the power all the time. And when we're getting those rains, I'm like, dang, today the power is going to go down. So luckily, we got nice sunny weather, for the last couple of days. But yeah, when all the time, and the router takes forever. We got Comcast here, which is broadband. It's the only way we could get really good, because the AT&T stuff is not going to cut it for a lot of what we want to do. So we got a gigabyte of download speed.
Nice.
There's no way we can do anything else without that. And upload is still slower, but a lot of the stuff we do, forget it. It's just too unpredictable with the phone one. So we have to get the broadband, the cable internet.
So I'm running Comcast as well, but I've never had a power outage where I've needed the internet right away to realize that router takes forever. I have my personal router plugged in. Well, it was back up and running, and just a matter of seconds, but the Comcast router took time. So
right. Yeah, no. I it happens to me all the time here. So I get it. No sweat. Technology is wonderful when it works. But no, we were talking about you were how did this conversation, you had a conversation, I guess you were with your boss.
Yep.
How you got started.
The day before we were supposed to fly to Cancun for 10 days.
Right.
My boss calls me in. I think it's just, end of season meeting. And he said, so I'm revamping the business. At that point, I was the general manager of the company. And he said, next year, you're going to be a technician again. We're firing our other technician, and my son's taking over the company. Great. And I went, and then, we were small enough that there was no room for him to be hiring more techs, but then comes spring. So I was on salary. So of course I'm not leaving until I've gotten my pay through the winter of not working. But in the spring I was training his son to take over the business that I'd been running, while his son is also looking for other technicians to go. And the whole time they're promising me that I still have a job. And I'm like, we don't have enough business for you to hire more techs. So I knew it was coming.
Right.
So, I was sitting with my wife and, stewing over it. And thankfully I had all winter to cope with it, because I've been there 11 years. I was running the business, and And yeah, instead of the 5-year plan of him retiring and me taking over, which I'd started that process already, all of a sudden I don't have a job anymore. And so it was a no-brainer going, all right, well, we're just waiting for the tax return money to come in so that we got a little cash in our pockets. We had enough money to carry us for 2 months. And I was like, okay, let's figure this out. And so, yeah, we knew that something had to happen. I went and I looked for other jobs, but man, after doing this, I mean, I have a bachelor's degree and I looked at some desk jobs, and a buddy of mine took me to his company, and that he absolutely loved the company and the corporate culture was great. And he talked to me afterwards, said, man, I saw your face when you walked in there and looked at these cubicles, and I knew you wouldn't take the job.
Right. Yeah. It's tough when you've done certain things for so long. And I mean, I left corporate. I would never, I told my wife one time, I said, look, I'll sell water on a street corner, bottled water on a street corner before I go back to corporate.
Yeah.
That's how bad I hated it.
Yep. Been there, done that. I was in management before I went into pest control, and yeah. So my wife and I were talking, and I came up with this. We were actually sitting in church in Sunday school, and when she was asking me what I wanted to name the company, where I came up with Bug Wranglers, and just felt like, you know what, I think this is inspired. And I went out and I just did the door-to-door myself. As much as I hate it, that's what I did. I started that way. I'm not a salesperson, but you do what you got to do, and of course made enough money that year to make it through the winter. So yeah, I started up. My first day I was official on May 4th of 2018. Yeah, 2018. And may the 4th be with you. So I was all in.
Yeah, no. That so how did like she feel about it? Like
rough, but she was supportive. Yeah, she's always been supportive. We're coming up on our 20th anniversary, and it's been great. But yeah, she's not interested in working the business with me. That's the one thing that I wish I had. Is her. She's totally supportive of me doing it, but she has zero interest in answering phones or doing any of the office work or that kind of thing. To the point, I was the sole income. My wife was a stay-at-home mom and homeschooling the kids.
Right.
So she now works online, teaches English to kids in China, brings in a little over $1,000 a month, which makes, is that difference at this point. That first year we live out in the cherry orchards. And so she actually went and worked in the cherry orchards that first summer to bring in that extra cash flow. She really hates phones.
Because, she'd rather work in a chariot than answer a phone, man.
Yeah.
You really got to hate phones.
I know. I was going, honey, you are working twice as hard for half as much money as I'm making. If you came and worked with me, we could grow this so much faster. And she's like, no, I love you. You do your thing. I'll do mine. I'm totally supportive of you doing it.
Right.
But I'm doing my own. So.
That's great. At least she knows who she is and who she's not. A lot of people don't have that. And that's actually more important, I think. So man, so you start up, and how long before you actually were able to cover the bills?
I grossed $35,000 my first season.
Okay.
And so, I I put it all on credit cards. So I don't know at what point we were covering the bills because the credit cards got paid off when we sold our house.
Got it.
We didn't, but we were at the point we were bringing in enough money that we were able to cover all the bills. We did not have to sell our house. Selling our house was not a part of my business. It was a part of just life choices for us.
Right.
I just want people to know that we did not sell because we needed the money to fund the business. We were self-sufficient by then.
Yeah. So it's more of and I'm still debating that because I've had a house and then I've had the condo, I've had the apartment, and the only reason I really want a house is so I can smoke and barbecue.
Right. I know we can't even put a grill out on our patio.
I mean, other than that, I have no desire to really own a home, and the maintenance. And I did so many repairs for so many people for the longest time. I'm like, no, I don't. I just work. I do my thing. I like going out. I want to travel. I really just miss being able to go out there and smoke, a brisket for 12 hours. Can't do it inside the apartment, so that's been my thing too. It's like, I've had the house, and not the maintenance is just nuts down here too. I mean, the taxes.
Maintenance wasn't a killer, but that was what influenced us. It was a big thing. I come home and I'm like, the grass is 6 inches tall. I really need to mow it. I come back, a month later, I'm like, shoot, and now it's a foot long and I still haven't mowed it.
Right. Yeah, no. And then if it's not the roof repair, and the taxes alone here are killer. The property taxes.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare how much you pay in property taxes. So I'm like, I'm still debating it. I've thought about just buying a piece of land and putting a container home on it. And that's about it. Cause I don't need much room, man. I'm pretty low maintenance, a kitchen and I'm actually more of a minimalist than
and that's us. I mean,
I just don't care for stuff.
Our big picture dream is to buy a sailboat and hit the ocean and travel the world. And that's kind of that's what's driving us towards a retirement someday.
Yeah.
The sailboat. In fact, when we were down in Florida last month, we spent an extra week down there taking sailing classes.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah.
I've done boating. Great. I've never done the sailing thing. So I'm looking at just, I like simple things, and I'm not too crazy about proving to anybody, I got the $1 million house, big deal. Just so everybody else can feel their jollies.
Right.
The Joneses here are more the Hernandez, because half of them, 65% of us are Hispanic, so we got to keep up with the Hernandez and the Fernandez and the Gonzalez, and I don't care. I just want to be able to enjoy myself and do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Right. Yeah. Selling the home and moving to an apartment really fit into our lifestyle business mentality that, we started this whole conversation around.
Right.
The idea that, I don't want to, if I'm taking the weekends off because I don't work Saturdays unless I've screwed up and now it's because I did something where I need to work a Saturday.
Right.
And if I'm not working Saturday for my company, I don't want to work Saturday taking care of a house.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at hiring a cleaning lady right now.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I've done the work. I've worked 100 hours. I'm trying to enjoy myself and take some time off, just for me. Like I started working out again. Yep. I've been battling with that. I used to work out every single day, and then all of a sudden for 5-6 years, I haven't, and I need to. And so I wake up at 5 a.m. and I go to the gym, and a mile from here, like literally I can throw a rock across it and hit it and go to the gym. And the other day I went at noon, I decided I'm going to go for a bike ride and go have breakfast and lunch on a Tuesday and not do anything.
Right.
and like right now, like but it's hard, man, because I got to discipline myself not to work. I'm a workaholic.
I'm a business mind. I'm a numbers person. I mean, I'm holding myself back. Like I can spew numbers out like crazy, but I know listeners would be like, what? That's, no,
that's fine. Spew out a number. Go ahead. Say something nasty. No, but yeah. So I decide I'm going to go out and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy myself for the day. I'm not taking any calls. I needed a mental break. I don't want to come home. Exactly. On the weekends, I'm actually looking forward to like turning down work. People are like, you got to do it on Saturdays. The only day, I'm sorry, we don't work Saturdays.
Yep.
A company that does not work Saturdays in Miami is hard. This is a 24-hour town. This is like New York.
But it can be done. All you have to do is say no.
And that's the hardest part for me to just say, I'm in a place where I don't have to. I'm like, when they were like, like Michael Eisner, I think of Disney. It's like, Nah, there ain't no deal we got to have.
Yeah. And I think something that needs to be recognized is in a lifestyle business that saying no is important.
Yeah.
And that these people who say, well, I can't afford to say no. Maybe they're right. And maybe they just need to reevaluate where they're spending their money and how much they really need. Right?
I made that excuse for years.
Like you said, keeping up, how many boats do you have? How many cars do you have? How big of and fancy of a truck do you have? I'm running an NV200 in part because I love the minivan. It's great.
Yeah.
But
we got one of those.
Also in part because running, I have a buddy of mine that runs out of a F350 diesel. I'm going, why? What do you need that much truck for? Because it's a truck and I'm a man and I've got to have a big beefy truck. I'm like, I mean, I like trucks too, but not that much.
Yeah, no, I'm debating now. I got to buy another one because we got to build the second one out. The second one I just bought early this year. It's already got 16,000 miles on it. And I'm looking at next year building out the third one already. We're going to pay that NV off this year. By the end of the year, we'll probably pay it off and be done with it, and then start number 3 working on that. But I'm just letting it build organically. I'm no longer under that stress of, I got to build. I got guys who I know you don't understand, bro. I got to build it because for personal reasons, my father, I got to prove something to him, or I got to prove something to my wife, or my wife needs a new, pair of boobs. Right. I don't know.
Right.
I don't give, when I was 25, I had a chip on my shoulder that had something to prove. And in my 20s, and I did have something to prove. And then in my 30s, I'm like more, I want to have this because I want to do it. It's always been my passion to have my own business. I was never able to for one. I tried many times and failed, and finally got into this. And then I had to build it up, and it was brutal, the competition I had to get into. And I'm at a point where like, I'm just, I'm enjoying this part of, I'm like, guys, how much you making? Dude, I made that much on 30 hours and I'm working now. But I got smart about hiring. But I paid the price to do this now, to sit here with you for 2 hours, not worry what I have to get to the next meeting. I don't allow anyone to set times for me on things that we have to do. Totally run my own time now. And that's probably the most rewarding thing for me, to be in a place where I'm content. I'm not complacent, because there's a big difference. There's so much room, but I don't have to, man, how am I going to do this? If I got to jump back on a route tomorrow because I have to, the economy went tanked and, whatever, the presidency didn't work out. And so I jump back on a route. I mean,
right.
But I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm milking this right now, this time, and like I said, I'm hiring somebody to clean the house and do that. I want to get home, do my thing, spend time with my kids, go to karate.
It's not all about maximizing profit. Now, profit's important because you can't relax without it. But for me, it's it comes back to not just a lifestyle business for me as the owner, but a lifestyle business for my employees. I don't want my employees working 50, 60 hours a week. I want them working 35 to 40. If I can pay him well because he's bringing in the money, he's doing the work, he's bringing in the revenues, that I can then turn around and pay him. He gets a month of vacation in the winter. He's on call for a month of total time off, and a month, 2 weeks on each end of, equipment and maintenance and, cleanup stuff. Yeah. And the rest, in his actual 9 months of work, he's working a 35 to 40 hour work week. He can be home. And I think, and the reality is,
activities. The boomers haven't realized that if you want to bring in those iGeners and those millennials, they saw their parents work the 100-hour weeks. Yeah. And they despise it. Yeah. And it's a real sore spot. Yeah. And so that was my generation of Gen Xers, the 80s, that generation. You want to bring in that next generation. That's what's going to take. And what you're comparing it to is what you're lazy, this and that. I said, no, This is what we're going for. You know, that's why I called you initially. Says, bro, what the heck are you doing? Because I'm looking at the same avenue of, you know, we don't need so many, you know, experts. I said, look, if I can get 45 to 50% profit margin off the route, I can make it happen. The numbers.
Yeah.
I don't need the 60% and be greedy and say, pay my guys, you know, a 12%,
right.
Pay them $36,000 a year because I need to make so much because I want the new Lambo, you know, and I want to live that lifestyle. I think that I am being conscientious of what other people think of me, saying, yeah, you're getting rich off of me. I'm not, because I paid the price to build the company, but I don't need to be showing off that, you know, I just bought another $15,000 Rolex off of your sweat when you're working so many hours. I think that comes into the equation in the conscientiousness of the generation. And I think that's what turns off a lot of people.
Yeah. One of my goals, you know, and I'm not quite there yet, but because I just have one technician, hired him this year, and still running my numbers and stuff. But one of my goals is that we shut down Saturday before Thanksgiving is our last day of scheduled work. Then they get the entire week of Thanksgiving off. And then the week after Thanksgiving, my goal is to take my entire crew and their families on vacation and do that
goes a long way, man. If you get the right people and you invest in those right people and they appreciate it, because some guys won't. Once you get bigger, you know, once you figure out that you're going to go from 1X to 3X employees, the dynamics, you know, there's I think there's a rule of the 3, 6, and 10 rule on the complexity that happens. And it really does. I experienced it. And the complexity does get, as you go from 1 to 3, man, I got to rewire almost the entire company.
Yeah.
Because of that. And when we get to that point, so I'm just, and this is going to be important for a lot of people to chronicle this journey, because I spent the last 6 years talking about pest control and technique and numbers and business. And now it's more about the growth pains that I experienced in the last 2 years, which were really painful. Yeah. I had to fire people and I had to let people go, and people were stealing, and I had to create systems. And that journey of where I was and where I am now, have more work, more responsibility, but I have different work. I have actually less stress than I had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I've learned how to manage it. But it was through the pain that nobody could save me from that pain, no matter how much they told me what I was going to go through. A lot of people see the pain and they said, no, I'm going to stay a solo operator for this pain because of that pain. I think it's, if you learn to manage the pain and learn through the process and listen to people that know more than you, that they've actually gone through it. So that's why I'm more in this, I'm chronicling this journey right now more, and the things that I'm doing, that I'm diversifying in, more than it's just about, hey, you know, this is how you build a business or whatever. I think it's important to have those hard conversations of the pain that we went through, because people think, oh, everybody online is a baller, you know, everybody is, you know, making it, and a lot of people who are hurting or not making it. Most of them are hurting; they just won't admit it. And those that admit the pain says, I'm going to continue to hurt because I'm not going to go through this pain. I don't want to grow. I think that's going to be, you know, what I've been able to learn from the people who are actually, you know, I've got guys talking to me who are running 10 branches. Yeah. Saying, this is what you're going to experience, Frank. You know, they're doing $6 million businesses and they're giving me advice, and I get it.
Yeah, we see this with big companies. You know, there's a reason why some of these people will start a company, a tech company, and that tech company gets big and they step back and they hire a CEO because they're like, I don't know how to do that part of it. Yeah. You know, it's the same thing when we talked about marketing. I can do some of this stuff. I can hop on WordPress and I can build myself a website, but it's not going to be optimized like a professional would optimize it.
It took me 2 years to figure that out.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it took me a year and a half, and I hired the wrong person. And but it takes time. And there comes a point where you go, you know what? Yes, technically I could learn that, but why should I learn that when I can hire somebody else who already knows it?
Yeah, I'm already at that point where I decided I'm going to be a CEO. And I'm going to hire. So now what I'm looking at is the next step is build round number 3 next year. And then after that, I'm probably going to hire an admin.
Yeah.
And then start doing all of the routing and admin work and be in front of that computer, looking at that route, setting it up daily, managing all the calls, the callbacks. We don't get that many. I mean, I've been on the phone now with you for 3 hours. I got one call from a technician to say, hey, you know that roach job we went on? And the ant problem? Guess what? I found mice in the glue boards. So we're going to have to do another follow-up for him. That's it in 3 hours. I mean, I'm looking at my, let's see, do I got any calls, any leads that we need to hop on that are a nightmare?
Like I've had one person contact me since we've been.
Yeah, he has a tenant that has did not provide need call tenant because caller does not live in the apartment. Okay, so I need to call a tenant to figure this out. That was it. That's been my inspiring, dreadful morning. We just don't have customers complaining. Our techs, if they find something weird in the field, they're constant communication. But I'm building that culture. I hire people that, what I look for? I really, and I nailed this down. I look for people who have servant hearts. That's been my secret. I said, I don't need you to be a superstar salesman. I don't need you to be a hustler. I need you to have a servant heart and have compassion and love and care for other people. And if you have that, then I don't have to worry about you. The integrity part's going to be there. I've learned.
I can teach you how to do the job. I just need you to care enough to do it right.
Yep.
And
what I look for, and that's what I look for in their life. I look for how are they actually serving other people. Yeah. And if they're not having all they see and talk about is, well, I can do this and I can do that and I can solve this problem and I don't hear in the conversation about how they're wanting to serve people. Mm-hmm. They can't reduce themselves. Yep. Because when I go out with my guys, I don't go out to supervise them. I go out to serve them. Yep. Let me see what you're struggling with so that I can help you.
I can teach the skills, but I can't teach the attitude and the...
No. And people are looking for I need a hustler. I need this. No, you need people that you don't have to worry about, that are servant people, that have integrity, that have honesty. Those are the top things that you can't... And I do a lot of profile testing because I automated my whole hiring process. And
I'll personality profile, or you using?
No. So we do. I do an entire. Everything is designed to weed out the garbage out there because we got a lot of it. We're in a major city; it's extremely hard. So we do an automated process on Indeed. Where they have to click a link, and they get to a video interview. And they get an instant interview. In that instant interview, we get a video. We get that video back. So out of 100 people, only 10 will ever go on to take the video interview. They're too lazy to even go get an interview. So that weeded out 90%. I don't even have to worry about them. Right. I get 10 guys back out of 100 that took the interview, and half of them you're not going to let in their home. I mean, I got guys in their bed with tank tops taking an interview. I don't even waste my time with those guys. I just look at the video. Next. Yeah. Everybody gets the same 20 questions, so I don't violate any EOC. You get all 20 questions. Everybody gets the same thing. And then the guy said, oh, that guy is interesting. I send them a link. I said, take our profile. Our profile is 45 minutes long, 75 minutes long. They take 2 personality profiles because one isn't enough to get a picture. And they get 2 different validations. They should both sync with 2 different profiles, so they can't mess with them. But then they also take a math and reading test, and they take a mechanical aptitude test. And 1 out of 100 will go through that process. They'll take the video interview, but then they won't go take the profile. If you won't take a profile to get a job that's promising you income you've never made before, and you don't care enough to spend, what makes you think you're going to sit through a class?
Right.
So I end up with literally interviewing where I have to get involved. 1 out of 1,000 applicants right now. It's between 1 and 700 that I'll actually interview. And if I do 3 interviews and they go through that entire process and I set up 3 interviews, 1 will show up.
Yeah. Anything you can do like that cuts through the crap.
People, it's like, how do you go through 700 resumes? I don't. The system does. They weeded themselves out. And what you guys is mostly guys that have been on jobs for 6 months and they think they should be promoted and they're already asking for another job. I said, I'm not interested in that guy.
Yeah.
You haven't held down a job for more than 4 years. I don't even talk to you. Unless I can see you're kind of young and it's your first job. But we still need somebody 21 really, because you're driving a vehicle. Like, what's his driving experience? So we're looking at all this, and I've learned to automate, but that took me 2 years to figure it out of how do I test for this? So I'm big on automation, and you want to sit down, then we go and says, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll go and I'll do a one-on-one. We'll go to Starbucks, grab a coffee, and we just talk. No talking points, just talk. And then I say, would you want to spend half a day with me running around, see if you like this? And then we sit and spend half a day. Nice. And then, so that takes time because that can take me 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. So you're following Dave Ramsey's Entree Leadership Plan. Yeah. I don't know have you ever read the book?
I have the book. Yeah. That's pretty much what I go through. But I start out 3 to 6 months before I need somebody.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to put him in a truck then with a technician, and that technician is going to tell me, yeah, he's good. Nah, he ain't never going to make it.
Yeah. I love it.
And then I got to fire him 3 days later and say, you're not going to make it, dude.
See, and I'm trying to run that process right now myself for next spring. I'm looking for another tech for spring. But my biggest challenge is I don't have any work for him to do or to see. I don't have a truck to put him in because we're done.
Right. Right. But what you'd start doing is, because the hiring process, the recruiting process is what,
and that's where I'm at right now.
So I'd be looking at saying, hey, are you in a position where you can wait in your job until the end of winter and then start up with me? But that process of interview, because what people don't understand is this job requires, it's kind of like, what's that movie? The guy, I have acquired a certain set of skills and I will find you. And this job requires you to have a certain set of soft skills.
Yes.
You got to be a manager. Intuitively. Yes. It has to be hardwired into you. You've got to be a manager. You got to learn how to manage your time. You got to be a self-starter. You got to be, how many people have a job where they're self-managed? Not many. You're managed everywhere you go. You go to anywhere you go, you're managed. You need people that don't need to be managed. Finding that person is the diamond in the rough.
Yes.
And that's the hard part. So what you got to do is you got to have systems in place to test all that and automate a lot of this process to be able to deal with, depending on the volume, the gross order of magnitude of what you're going to get when you put out an ad. Like I got a buddy, but like I say, he's putting out ads. He can't even get applicants.
I know it's been tough in our area. I've got 2 universities here that run between the 2 of them 60,000 students, and hardly any of those students are here because of COVID. They all went home early last year. None of them, or very few, stuck around through the summer like they normally would, and not nearly as many came back this fall. So there's that population base has been impacted. But I also have to look beyond that because, it's great. I can hire a college kid, but realistically, college kids aren't my target employee.
Right.
Because they all, I have a degree. I remember being this person going, well, sure, I can do that low level, blue collar job for now, but I'm getting a degree. I'm heading for something better. Like,
right.
Well, here I am. I have that degree. You know what my something better is? Pest control. I make more money doing pest control than I would with a master's in my field.
Yeah, I mean, I've got people, literally, I'm not kidding you. I've had people with MBAs applying for a $16 an hour job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. So it's going to be much harder. Even if you were super bright at marketing and sales, getting the technicians.
Yeah.
Because, and what you're going to have to do is what I'm planning on for my next, a lot of my hires is lateral from let's say you're working maybe in air conditioning where you're making more money, but you got to find another service field or a lower end service field that they already have service field experience and say, you can make 50,000 with me. You're making 36.
Right. You're mowing lawns right now. Why don't mowing lawns is great. It does take some skill, but let's step you up a level to something that can make more money. And that's where the benefits of what I do, the benefits of, it's like, hey, look, you're going to get paid year round and you're going to get all this time off. You're going to get, I'm not working you 60 hours a week. You're not working Saturdays. Right. You're not, all these types of things that then go into the full package of what you're offering them to make it an attractive field. And that's it. It's creating, everything has to be with cultural fit. And I was having a guy says, well, our culture is this, and everybody's walking in. Well, then your culture sucks. I mean, what can I tell you? But trying to find a cultural fit for the guy who wants this in his life. Yeah.
And that's really what it is. It's about, so you got to change your mind from I'm a pest control owner to now my new hat. I'm no longer doing marketing. I'm no longer doing sales. I am now HR recruiter.
Yes.
Literally, that's the mental shift that I had to make is I am now a full-time recruiter.
And that's been a hard shift.
And that's where I'm at. That's where I learned that. That's my next step. I'm now a recruiter and I got to build. That's why I created the academy. I'm mostly creating the academy for myself. And I'm just sharing it with everybody. People are saying, hey, man, it's really good. I'm really liking this. But I'm creating a system for me to put my guys in the training so I can automate that portion of it.
Right. Anything you can do to step yourself out of the field while still providing your knowledge, your training, your methodology.
And video is the only way I can do that.
Yeah.
And a 1 hour class that I record or a 30-minute class is about 8 hours to 9 hours worth of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's something a lot of people don't recognize, right?
Yeah.
The time and effort we put in.
Yeah.
And I think that's something important for any technicians who are listening to this podcast. Need to recognize that starting your own company can be very rewarding, but it is a ton of work. And like you mentioned earlier, paying your technician $40,000 while only making $28,000 yourself, right? Because, well, as the owner, you must be making more money. Oh no, because I need to keep them happy.
Yeah, and that was it. He was a great tech. He was a great guy. He worked his butt off, and I knew that if I didn't pay him that, then he would just go somewhere else and make the money. But with me, he got in, he was an early riser. So he would like getting out at 7 a.m., being out there and being done by 3. Yeah. And he was done and he was home by 4. And I give my technicians that anyway. Says, look, 10, 9, do you want to get out there earlier? You want to stay out later? You need to take off during the middle of the day because you got something personal to do. As long as we don't have appointments, we've set up a business where we don't need appointments. And that gives them freedom. So if you need to go to the doctor, you need to take off that morning, that route's going to be waiting for you when you get back. Yeah. Stay a little later, get it done. If you feel like you couldn't get it done during the weekend, you want to work Saturday, like we've got the rain and it nailed us. I said, Pop, you're going to have to work. And on top of that, I pay him for his regular 40 hours when he couldn't work. And I pay him overtime for working that Saturday. Yep. Because it's not his fault that it rained. Yeah. As an employee. Yes. In one way, he got that day off, but at the same time, it wasn't a day he chose off, and he may have had plans for that Saturday. He now has to rearrange. Yeah.
that's treating the people the way you would want to be treated.
Right.
You know, think back and when, you know, if you were working for somebody, would you want them telling you, hey, you got to work Saturday and you're not getting anything extra? Heck no.
No. Yeah. So I guarantee my guys, you know, I say, look, you get guaranteed 40 hours. I pay you, you know, 15 right now to start. That's what I'm paying my tech there to start. 15, you know, then we'll talk about once you get past 30, 90 days, and then we start raising it. And now right now with COVID, we took a major hit, but I said, I'm still guaranteeing your 40 hours paid. So when he's working 30,
he's getting paid 40.
He doesn't have to worry.
And that's what I do.
Yeah. And I take the hit.
Yeah.
I mean, for him, but I'm building equity. He's not.
Right. Yeah. Legally, we can't pay salary. So we can't legally say it's a salary, but we can do what you're doing, which is what I do also. Is I say, you know, I don't care how few hours you actually work that week. As long as you're working under 40, you're getting paid for 40. Right. If you work over 40, you're getting overtime.
Right.
You know,
yeah, but that's how we do it. We pay overtime, and we don't have a problem. So like, hey, right now we're like, hey, let's rearrange the storage rooms, and let's do that today. And we're going to move some stuff around. So I'm having them do that because we kind of one guy is fully booked, but one is my lawn guy, one is my GHP. I learned to separate it. I tried it together, nightmare. So I don't care that one guy. So like I send them out on like my actual lawn tech is actually better at doing German roach jobs than my GHP tech, which is used to doing maintenance. And it requires a lot more detail, a lot more paying attention. So I give him all the roach jobs. Yep. And that's how I work it. You know, we can do it. And like, he's not really good with ant jobs because he has to do way too much hunting. My other guy outside knows where all the ant nests are outside. I haven't trained him yet. Right. So I'm training. He's much better with his hands. So it says, hey, how about if we start fixing some irrigation problems with the client? Straighten out their heads. We got extra time. Just donate it to the client. Don't charge them. And then that builds those relationships with the clients. Earlier in our conversation, we talked about you're doing all these sales and stuff, without that personal connection. And so we still need to find those ways to connect with the client. We need that connection. We need them to see the value in what we do. It's just like if my guy brings in the garbage cans, he needs to tell the client that he brought in the garbage cans. I want him bringing them in, even if the client's not home. Right. But if you tell the client then knows that it was us that did that, and they see that extra value. Right. If your technicians are out there straightening out sprinkler heads and making sure the coverage is right, and then they're saying, hey, we did this, no extra cost. We just know that it's going to impact our work and it's going to make your lawn better. Yeah. So we wanted to take care of that for you. Well, then they're like, hey, look at my company there, how awesome they are. Yeah. That's what that's how we have to do, because our customers listen, I've got customers that I've had for 12 years. I still to this day do not know what they look like. Yeah. Because they're never home. My customers travel, they're business executives. They're traveling between here and Colombia. They're never home. I only see the nanny, and I know the dog more than I know them. And we don't, but they understand that because the reports are there, that we did this for you. Hey, here's a picture of what we found. You need to fix this. My guys are the ones that's why it's more important to have people who are servants, because they're never going to say, oh, it's not my job to do that. Right. I don't ever want somebody to say it's not my job. Yeah. Everything is your job. So if I tell them, look, go over there and do me a favor, go do this for this client. I'm paying them by the hour. It's slow, get it done. Yeah. And it's never an issue. Like right now, he just called me and said, hey, we didn't, this is not a mouse job, but we need to come back. He's got mice. And I said, don't worry. This is an elderly man who lives in a trailer by himself. His daughter lives out in Colorado. She hired me over the internet. And he's 80 something years old. He can't see that. He doesn't know. He says, just send me a picture. Don't worry, bro. We'll right when you took the break, I talked to him and I said to him, just set up another follow-up to make sure that mice problem is taken care of. Don't worry about it. That's, in a major city, to have a company that has that heart That's our brand equity.
Yes.
That's our unique selling proposition. That's what people get to know, that we care, without us having to be with all the fancy marketing.
Yep.
So that's why we keep all our clients. People know you need a contract. We have all our clients without a contract. We keep them. Because yes, the initial sales process could be impersonal. That's why I had to personify it with a video.
Yes.
So you're the guy, and people think, are you the guy coming out? And I say, well, actually, no. I have technicians, but I train them all, and they're all equipped and they all know what they're doing. You don't have to worry. And by the way, if you do need to talk to me, I'm here. But I'm still small enough that I can do that. So it's a sometimes a dry transaction. But wow, when I hear back, wow, your guy was so amazing, and he moved the fridge, and we found all those roaches behind the fridge. The last guy wouldn't move the fridge; he wouldn't do anything. That's where we differentiate ourselves in the customer service. That's really the brand. I tell people that product, it's beans are beans. Black beans are black beans are black beans. It's a commodity. Chemical is a commodity. For the longest time, we had the advantage because we could say, well, we only have product that only us have. Now what? Everybody's got it.
Right.
So that's the thing, bro. So there's a lot you've been listening to some good people, by the way, man. Bello. Which new podcast? I'm going to give them a plug because I think it's an amazing podcast. You need to listen to this, bro. All the BS goes out the window with these guys. It's called The Boardroom Buzz.
I haven't listened to any of them, but I've got it on my list.
Okay, so, yeah. Bro, I started listening to them. It is, let me see my library. Where's my library here on my? Yeah, it's called The Boardroom Buzz. And this is Giamonti. This is the guy that runs Potomac. Potomac, they specialize in acquisition and sales of pest control companies. So these guys brokering, $7 million companies. That's his job. Dan Gordon, I wish he would put out a podcast. Right. His stuff is great. The stuff I've listened, the book, I got the book from Dan. So, the Paul Bellows workshop. I was going to go this time. I couldn't go either. He did it in Florida again. I just couldn't go. I just couldn't.
It's like it's just up the road from you.
I know. It
was great.
Yeah, I know. I could have flown there and I wouldn't drive because it was too far. I hate driving those 6-8 hours anymore. I like short distance. I like going to Naples 2 hours. I'm in paradise across the West Coast. But those guys are amazing, man. The stuff they're starting to talk about and stuff that I kind of knew. But dang, how do I validate? Because competition doesn't tell you. A lot of guys in the groups aren't going to have those. I put a lot of discussions out that I just don't get feedback on because they're not at that level. I need to be thinking, I want to be where I want to be 5 years from now. I got to prepare myself mentally for it because that's really the big challenge. Talking to the guys who are actually running 10 routes.
Yes.
Dude, what are the logistical problems that we're having?
Yeah.
With running 10 routes.
And one of my mentors is
and having a discussion.
Jason Gibbons from Men in Black in Chicago.
Okay.
He reached out to me on one of the pest control groups on Facebook and said, hey, why don't you come out? So a year and a half ago, I flew out to Chicago, spent a week with them. His team is great. Gave me some great experience there. And then he was at the PJB workshop in Florida last month. So it was great to touch base with him again. And I mean, like you say, it's about reaching out to these people. He's got more than this now. I think he's 10 plus technicians out on the road and he's now transitioning his company over to his daughter. He's pretty much stepped away from the business. Right. His daughter
that's no easy feat, man. 10 technicians, that is no easy feat to do. I guess once you've done it, it's looking back, it's now easy, but that's what I'm planning. I'm like, what do I need to do 5, 6, 7, 10? And the inherent problems, the questions nobody's asking, beyond what are you using
to? Yeah. It's so useful, so meaningful. Another one of the podcasts that's out there is Start and Grow Your Pest Control Company. Alan Draper from Proof Pest.
Oh, really? I haven't heard of him yet.
Yeah. So I've heard of them because they do door-to-door sales. That's their foundation.
Got it.
But they're building their company with the intent to hold, not to sell. And so his podcast is really good. And they've built something very rapidly, and he's getting great people on for interviews who have also done some incredible things with their businesses, and good places to learn more for us that want to grow beyond where we're at. Like you say, I want to end up, I could retire on a $500,000 a year gross revenue company. I could retire, but for me to really comfortably hold the business and retire, I'm looking at more like $1 million in gross revenue with the way that I think that I'll build out my company.
Yeah.
But that's the way right now I think I'll build it out.
Yeah. I started looking
where will it actually be?
I started looking at 2 million, my number. And then I realized, and then I sell it and I'll get, $1.8 million, $1.7 million. And then, it's not going to last too long.
See, I'm running my numbers off of holding the business, rather than selling the business.
Yeah.
But then I have to think too, if my daughter, she's 17, she takes over the business here in the next 5 years or so, and I need to make sure that, I'm pulling this much money.
Yeah.
But now she's taken over, and I really need to start giving her some of that ownership stake in the business, so that, and then she wants to retire at some point. And so I've got to think bigger than just my.
Yeah. You got to be able to, that's when when I was talking about originally the 125,000 per employee, that's per employee to maintain management and support staff.
Yeah.
So so if you've got 10 employees, you got to be pulling total employees. So if you got 5 techs on the road, you're probably going to need, if you got 5 techs, you're going to need 1 admin and 1 service manager.
Yep.
For each one of those guys, and plus you. So that's, and
if you're going to replace yourself, because what role are you playing? You need to make sure that you're doing your math and
so
hiring.
Now you got 8 guys,
right? So you may be filling a role, but you have to remember that you're filling a role, that you being the owner and your math, your owner profits and your total pay are not the same.
No. Yeah.
Right. And if you aren't doing that math, right? Because my business has a general manager, a senior technician, and a standard tech. Well, 2 of those roles are the same person.
Right. I used to carry 5. I'm doing the sales, I'm doing the marketing, I'm doing the office management, I'm doing the field service work.
Yeah.
I'm
not even looking at the rest of that, right? Like you're doing.
Yeah, I looked at my 5. So I said, at one point, I need enough revenue in my pricing to pay for those 5 hats.
Yeah.
And if let's say I take myself and I only stay at the CEO role, which great if I can. I still, for every 5 people, you're going to need about 2 to 3 support staff.
Yeah.
And then you start getting bigger where you need a payroll person.
Yep.
So when you're doing 2 million, 2.5 million, you got 10 techs, you got 20 people.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was talking about. If you're pulling in 300,000, you need a minimum of 200,000 minimum per route to support anything that you need. If you can do 300,000, 250,000, you're doing super awesome. 300,000, you're going to push it. It's going to be rare that you can get every route to do 300,000, but you need about 100. So here in Florida, down in South Florida, it's more about I got companies doing between 99,000 and 100,000. Very few people are doing the 125 per employee, which is what you really need to get your numbers. You need that 50% profit margin off the route, and you to support all that staff. And this is where the guys aren't thinking that what am I going to need? And nobody tells them.
And that's why you end up with these people doing a $50 service, because they're looking at it going, all of my expenses are are me, right?
Yeah.
Me, my personal vehicle that I turned into a work vehicle. So they aren't paying, for a work vehicle like this van behind me. They aren't paying for an office space that they're going to have at some point.
Right.
I referenced Jason at Men in Black. When I went out a year and a half ago to visit him, he was still running. He had somewhere in the ballpark of 10 office staff for 10 field employees.
Yeah, that's the number.
And he was running it out of his basement still. While I was there, he was looking for a location. Yeah. He now has one, and he's growing, and expanding.
Because he's in Chicago. That's extremely tough if you're in the city of Chicago to find real estate.
Yeah.
Here we still got options. Over there, it gets even tougher. And I've been in Chicago. I used to do business. I actually started a wholesale Mexican food distribution business out of Columbus. And I would drive to Chicago one day a week, load up a truck, come back to, that was an 8-hour. I actually would spend 24 hours without sleeping. This was when I was really young and stupid. and I would finish the work at the restaurant, close up at 10 o'clock at night, drive to Chicago all night, 8 hours from Columbus, spend all day buying, fill up an entire truck all day buying, drive back to Columbus, and then go to sleep. And then wake up after 6-7 hours of this to go distribute it in one day.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It was nuts. I had built it up to like $500,000 in no time. And I was selling basically to 7-Elevens. And I started selling specialty stuff to 7-Elevens and things like that. And people have no idea the price that somebody pays when they're starting out, the crazy stuff they do, the reckless stuff they do that could cost them, I was so wired on caffeine. It was unreal.
I mean, if we'd have just bought stock in Monster or Rockstar, right? I mean, shoot, I alone am supporting myself.
Yeah. So I know it was.
I get
crazy.
My dividend just off of my own purchases.
I mean, I literally have I stocked up because like people start stocking up on toilet paper.
Yep.
I stocked up on coffee. Make sure I've got like 8 bags. Every BOGO that I go to Publix. I don't know if you got a Publix where you're at. I don't think they go that far. But you got what, Kroger's out there? What do you have? What's a major Myers?
Yeah. We've got Kroger's, Smith's.
Yeah. So here they do a lot of BOGOs, and so buy one get one, and every time it's buy one get one free. Stocking up on coffee, bro. Because if they close down and I don't have coffee, I can poop all over myself, bro. But I cannot go without coffee.
I got some friends that are preppers. Well, I say friends. I have people I know who are preppers. And they're like, we don't need toilet paper. We can wash stuff. I mean, people do this all the time. It's called washable diapers for babies, right?
Yeah.
I don't need toilet paper. I got,
Yeah, but they're hardcore, bro. So they're hardcore, man, because you're not going to get any millennial, brother. Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, you can just use a bidet or, wipe yourself down, get a hose, whatever.
Right.
But, I mean, people were going nuts here with the toilet paper. Literally, we could not get any toilet paper.
Oh, yeah. We were like that, too.
But I said, like, how many times a day do you poop, even if you're stuck at home? It doesn't increase. I mean, it's like still once a day, twice. My son goes 3 times, but he doesn't stop eating, Yeah. I mean, he's like eating chocolate and this and that. And, he doesn't stop eating, dude. He goes like 3 times a day when he's like, I'm done. I hear, I'm done. I'm like, again?
So we get ours at Costco.
Yeah, okay.
So we only buy like once a month anyway.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we had just bought when everything crashed.
Yeah.
And we were able to go for a month and things started to come back to the shelves by the time we needed again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, people went nuts. I always stock up on the toilet paper because I just don't like going out constantly buying. Like only my food because I eat. I'm almost on like a low carb diet. I went on keto and I got off of it, and then but my food bill alone for me is astronomical, because I just can't eat so many things. I had pre-diabetic and all this, so I started, eating healthy. It's expensive as heck.
It is.
I mean,
it is.
I mean,
my wife and I started a year and a half ago, and I've lost 50 pounds in the last year and a half because But man, it costs.
The sad diet will kill you, but then you got to make the money to. I mean, I think I spend probably on myself. I'm like between $400 and $500 a month, just by myself. And
maybe that's why I'm losing weight, because I'm not spending that much.
Yeah, no, and I started thinking. I said, man, I can go to OMAD, the one meal a day, and then I can save half of that. But man, it's hard. It's hard when so I'm But
I
vegetables
did that for about a month.
Food here. I mean, I was shocked, dude. Food here is so expensive. When I left in Ohio, I lived in Ohio. I was spending, I don't know, a couple hundred. And this was in 2000. And I left Ohio and I came down here and milk was almost double what it was in Ohio. Yeah. A gallon of milk, almost double. And I'm like, how do these people live when they're making $7, $5, $6 an hour? And I was making a fortune over there. And I was like, dang, $1.99 a gallon was a lot. And I come down here and it's almost $6 a gallon.
Yeah.
I mean,
my wife and I started, we got married, and 3 days after our wedding, we moved to Hawaii, and we stayed in Hawaii for 2 years going to school out there. And, I mean, we started our marriage in Hawaii where prices were just
I heard it's really expensive over there. Yeah.
I mean, we're coming up on our 20th anniversary. So 20 years ago in Hawaii, a gallon of milk was $8.
Oh, that's even worse than here.
Yeah. And that was 20 years ago. And I'm like, oh my word. We moved back to mainland states and it's $1.79 a gallon. You go, oh, well, I can afford that. But 2 years there, we still don't drink milk. We broke the habit of drinking milk.
I got off of it. I actually it was causing me respiratory problems. I constantly kept getting colds and you could hear on my podcast, I would constantly say, I can't do a podcast this week. I'm getting colds. And then I talked to a buddy, says, man, you could have a really serious problem with dairy. I had the problem too. Check it out. I did. Got off the dairy. Haven't had a cold now in 2 years. I got on the diet. I lost 30 pounds. But I had cholesterol problems. I had high blood pressure. A lot of it, mine has to do with, a lot of people know this, you probably don't, but I had childhood leukemia and I was on chemotherapy for 6 years. And it does a number on your arteries, on your muscles. Like I have to do constant stretching. I mean, I got to do a lot of things that in the morning because my muscles, get damaged from that much of chemotherapy. So I really got to just eat really healthy, watch what I eat, if I want to live.
It's one of those things where the silver lining around every cloud, right?
Yeah.
Because you had childhood leukemia, which was probably a horrible experience to go through, you're a healthier person today. I didn't have any health problems, and so I haven't developed good habits. And now all of a sudden I'm realizing it. I mean, I ballooned up to 236 pounds at 5'7".
Wow.
I mean, I was huge. And I still have 30 pounds left to lose, but I'm down 50 pounds over the last year and a half because I finally realized that I need to do something with my life. Beyond
and that's another huge problem that we're having that in this industry, talking about weight, where we have so many people that can do the job, but they're obese and they can't. I've had them. They can't function. They can't get into places. They can't bend down. They can't, and they're young. These are young people in their 30s, and they would be great technicians if they would drop 150 pounds.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything, and it's really hard for them. They can't go to crawl spaces. They can't get into attics. In a tight kitchen, like we got small apartments, you can't move a refrigerator and get behind it. That's a huge challenge for us right now, where I got so many applicants. He's not going to be able to get into a cabinet to do a roach job. Yeah. Being down on his knees, he's like, I'm hurting. I can't be down on my knees. So I started looking at what my wake up call for me was back in 2000. So we're about 20 years ago. I wasn't bad shape. I mean, I was working out. I came from working in a restaurant and I was overweight. I was about 180 at the time, which is, for me, it's like my build. I mean, look at my hands. But my mother had 3 clogged arteries. They were like 85%. She almost had to have open heart surgery. And that for me was an eye-opening experience. As she's 60 something and she's in this condition. If I don't change because of the hereditary issues,
Yep.
I'm going to end up like that. And I started getting off of certain things, except for me, my pre-diabetes was because of it's hereditary, but then I was also doing enough studying that I could, and I was dealing for it for like 3 years. And no matter what I ate, I was listening to the doctors and all this, and they were going to start putting me on meds. And I said, the only thing I haven't given up is carbs. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat sweets. I don't eat a ton, but the carbs. And I started looking into keto, and I got off of it. And 30 days later, what I couldn't do in 2 years, reverse. I went from a 6.1 to a 5.3.
Yeah.
Normal. And so that's it. I just don't do it. And I don't eat carbs. I don't eat pasta. I mean, I'll have it. Like I'll do like once a month. I'll choose a pasta. I might go out a couple of times and maybe eat an English muffin with my breakfast. Don't do it. So I got to eat, I can't eat saturated fats because then my cholesterol goes through. My doctor has a fit. I mean, it throws my cholesterol to 300 and something. And so I got to dang, you have no life, dude. You can't eat anything. It's like, I just got to choose to eat a lot of vegetables, greens, fish. Yep. It gets expensive to eat fish. I can't eat beef every day. I can only eat beef once or twice a week, maybe. I can't eat a whole bunch of pork unless it's lean. So I got to eat so healthy because if not, and I buy my own lipid test at home. So I'm like fanatical about numbers. So I'm doing my blood sugar test every morning, my lipids. I'm constantly on top of myself. Now, I said my next step is I got to get back into the gym. I got to do it because I feel physically exhausted and I'm not doing that much.
Yep.
So now it's 5 a.m. I'm up, 10-mile bike ride, go to the gym, pump weights once or twice a week, change it up, go do something. But you got to do it. You got to really take care of that health because you're going to get to a point in your life when, hey, man, then you got to depend on the doctors. And you don't think about that when you're in your 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
just
think
turned
a lot of
41.
Yeah.
And, that was the thing, right? I just a few months before my 40th birthday is when it really just hit me and went, I'm 80 pounds overweight. And I came home from a business conference and I started keto and I started exercising. Yep. And my exercise kind of goes up and down a little, but I'm still on keto. I'm down 50 pounds. My dream of becoming the next Karate Kid, I've now started that process. I joined a martial arts studio.
I've thought about it because my kid goes to martial arts.
Ago.
Yeah. So I thought about that, but I said, I'm doing the and my numbers. I mean, I get into shape so quickly. It's unreal because my resting heart rate was in the 70s and close to 80. And now my resting heart rate is like 50 something after just a week. Yeah. My breaths at night, I monitor my breath and sleeping, and it's like 15 breaths a minute, way down. My resting heart rate, it was like high all the time. So just doing, and I'm not even doing that much workout. I'm not pumping out a ton of iron. I'm just doing 5 reps, 3 sets of 5 reps and I lift till, to collapse, but that's it. I'm not putting in 10 reps and burning it out. I'm running maybe 2 miles, just staying that activity and just building and toning my body so that I can live long enough to enjoy what I've been much effort I've put into it and spend time with my kids. That's my big thing, is being there for my kids when I'm older, because I'm 50 and they're young. And it's always in the back of my head because my father died when I was 5. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's always, and he never took care of himself. He had high blood pressure. He smoked. He didn't drink too much. He drank, but socially, but he smoked, and he had high blood pressure. He had an aneurysm. And that's always stayed in the back of my mind. It's like, and now I'm 50 and he died when I was like 55, when he was 55.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
Sure that any of that genetic doesn't get passed on because of your lack of care.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's what I've been focusing on, and just really conscientious about that and just reducing my stress levels, down to where it's managed, everything is managed. It's a journey, man. It's a struggle for a lot of people. It's that part of being sick, chronically sick my entire life because of the history.
Yes.
It's just something that I constantly have to deal with. And like, how do you, people are like, how do you do what you do? Podcast, the business, doing training, the health. And it's like, I just push forward, man. You got to push past that pain emotionally, mentally. I don't know. I guess the struggles of being, from a single mom and all this and growing up poor, and I guess you persevere.
Yeah.
I was just sitting the other day looking at my son, helping him with his homework. I pick him up from school every day at 3:30. I can do that now. I can go to karate with him 4 times a week. I come home. I do homework with him. We were at the pool at 6:30 at night, hanging out. And I was thinking, and I said, man, he does not realize how good he has it. Because when I was a kid, my mother could never help me with homework because my mother couldn't speak English.
Uh-huh.
I'm 5, 6 years old having to do my own homework. I had no siblings in the house. No dad. I learned to do, this is why I learned to do, everything myself because of the history. Yeah. And then I look and I said, I don't want him to go through that. I want him to learn to persevere. And I'm doing other things with him to help him with that because I don't want to have him to go through what I went through as a kid, right, where dad wasn't around.
There's this double-edged sword here, right? Because on one hand, you had a hard life,
right?
But that hard life turned you into who you are today,
right?
On the other hand, then we turn around and go, well, we're taking our children and we're softening their life,
right?
But then look at the world around us, and
it's getting harder.
Half of these millennials that were like, oh my word, where did they come from? Oh, they came from people who had a hard life and then raised their kids soft.
Yeah.
I was raised soft, and it's taken me a lot longer. To come into my own. Yeah. You talk about being, in your mid-20s and having that chip on your shoulder and going out there and proving yourself. Man, I was in my mid-20s going, why isn't everybody catering to me?
Right.
That wasn't what I said, but in reality, that's kind of how
that's what happened. Yeah.
And it took me, I didn't learn how to work until I was in my late 20s when I had my first job where I really started learning how to work. Yeah. And I go, man, if I'd have known how to work 10 years earlier, how much further would I be? Yeah. Yeah, I know. It takes me a lot,
and with me, it's developing me. God has to work on me, the patience to be able to understand that, and have empathy with the kids that I'm bringing into the organization, and understand them, even though I understand that that's not me, that I'm the hard. I was at 17. I still didn't have my remission. I was already building a landscape business. Yeah. And I still was not under remission. And I was looking for the day when I didn't have to be on welfare anymore and could start my own business and work. And it took me about till I was 18 or 19 to start working because I couldn't physically. Yeah. And so I look at that. I was at 20, I was already working 50 hours a week, running a territory, going to college at night, married. Yep. And I can't sometimes understand why these kids said I can't work and I can't go to school. And I was putting in 100 hours a week at the time I was 19. And it requires me to step back and have that patience to be able to teach and to train and to realize that how I'm going and what you're doing is the future, that I got to accept that it's not going to be what I did. Yeah. That's not where we're going. And just have enough foresight to say, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. Let's do that. And not have a chip on my shoulder that says, because I do this and I'm hard, and I sleep 5-6 hours. I'm done. And then I'm wired like this, like if I was on coke all day. My employees have no idea. I've never done drugs in my life. I could probably benefit from some ACT and, mellow out, man, but I don't. But I have to learn to step back for them and say, yeah, they're not going to be driven. They're not hard driven like me. And that's okay. I just need them to do their part and what they're wired to do and create the systems that can cater to where we're at. And, right. and I think that a lot of guys like me have got to learn that. And it's hard because I'm like, dang, it's Saturday and I'm looking at my phone and I've learned now I'm learning. I guess, I don't know if it's old age and I'm softening up, like, you're getting older, you're softening up. I guess, I don't know. I've got a couple of guys that I talk to them in their 30s and they're hard driving and dude, you're turning into my dad, the grumpy old guy, So that's pretty much it, man. I mean, that's where we're at. I think you're going down the right path. I think you're ahead of the game. I've accepted that's the reality. I've learned to do this and say, yeah, let's hire college kids and let's hire part-timers and let's build a culture that allows people to say, yeah, I want to work 36 hours. If you can work me in, I like to work for your organization. I don't need 40.
Yeah. Especially if we're paying them properly, if we're providing them those benefits, and we're making the money because we're charging appropriately for our services, that we don't need to work them, 60 hours a week so that they can make a living.
Yeah. It just requires more management. And a lot of people don't have you were in management. I think you have a benefit because I was in management. I get it. I ran stores with high school kids that were on vacation and built them up over the summer on those kids. And they were great. I can lead those kids. I understand them. I guess that just goes back to that. So people say, I can't, if we can hire 2 part-timers, say, hey, you work Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays while you're in college, and I'll get another guy to work Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays if need be. And we still get the work out. It just requires more management, more logistics, more cooperation versus saying, yeah, I just want a guy to work from 7 to 7. I don't have to manage them and manage by abdication. I don't think it's going to work anymore. I honestly don't. I think you're going down the right path. I think you're setting up for the next 10 years of how we see this labor market is going to be.
Yeah.
And it could be a working model for a lot of people.
And if I can hire people, even college students who may think that there's a better future out there for them and that's why they're going to college. Right. If I can hire them in, even on a part-time job, in the summertime and show them the realities of what I can offer.
Right.
There are several, I will find people who recognize that value that I can provide them, especially because I have a degree and I can talk to them and say, look, I have a degree, been there, seen it, done that. Right. And I'm killing bugs for a living because it's a much better life.
Yeah. Oh, you have no idea. I've talked to guys. I mean, when you talk into the groups, I've got guys who were freaking airplane mechanics.
Yeah.
Electrical engineers. I mean, they come from all fields. People don't understand how great this industry is. And how, it's been destroyed by a lot of companies that are doing a lot of things. But for the most part, this is phenomenal. And if you got a 2-year degree, you're working on a 4-year degree and you're just getting in now because they're going into college later. They're taking 2, 3, 4, 5 years off and going into and getting their associate degree at 24 starting. Hey, you've got 2 to 3 years before you're going to even think about going into your field. 4 years. Work for me for 4 years. You'll have 4 years under your belt of great references. People will hire you. That's what I'm doing now with one of my guys. He's entering and he's going to finish in another year his associates. And then he still's got to go to get his bachelor's in physical therapy. And I said, once you get to that second year, let me know. And I think you should start. And I've had those conversations. I just care more about them. And I said, I think you should start looking at getting into your field. So when you finish your bachelor's, you have at least 2 years of experience in your field. And you don't have to compete with guys who are working there already. And I think we need to start talking about your transitioning out of here in another year.
That level of mentorship, of being willing to be the mentor, caring more about your employee and about their life than about how that employee benefits your company and your life. That's what gets you the better people. That's what gets you to keep people. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Undercover Boss.
Of course.
Right? The best ones on there are the ones that are not just like, hey, I want to benefit this person who's really helping my company, but finding out that, hey, this employee has a dream of going on to college. I'm going to scholarship their college.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean,
I'm going to lose them as an employee because they're moving in a completely different field. But as a caring person, it comes back to you.
Culture is going to trump anything. Culture is going to trump even pay and benefits, because I got guys who are offering 401ks and none of their young people are taking it. Yeah.
They don't understand it. They don't, if you want your people to take it, then you have to have some training and some education and say, hey, look, this is how this works. But offering something that nobody utilizes is meaningless.
I said, you might as well give them that difference in pay if they benefited more or more vacation. I mean, a lot of the guys that I'm talking to, and that's just why we're having this conversation, is younger guys in their 30s says, listen, I want to be home. I want to be for my kids. I want to be a dad. I don't want to be a corporate exec. I don't want to work 50 hours a week. Yeah. And I think that's the trend. And if you can offer, get it done, make the money in 36 hours, which is what you're saying, and more vacation time.
Yep.
Maybe more bonuses.
Unlike you're doing, flexibility in the workplace where, you want to take that time off in the middle of the day for the doctor's appointment. That's totally fine. You don't even have to call me and get approval. No,
I tell my guys, you need a day off. Just tell me you need a day off and you got it. Mm-hmm. I don't even oh no, you can't take a day off today because we just add a couple of more stops during the week, maybe an extra one. Or if you say I need to take a day off, or hey, it's a light week. Why don't you take that day off? Next week I'm planning. It's going to look like a light week. I can move some stuff around for you and you can take that day off next week.
Yeah. Let me know. My software sends out the reminders to the customers and it does it, 2 or 3 days in advance. As long as I know 4 days in advance, I can rearrange that schedule any which way I want and you're good.
And as long as we have, I think it has, I just have that, I guess I look at myself as a servant leader. Uh-huh. I just have that understanding that this ain't mine. This can go south any minute. And culture and how you treat people is going to trump, especially with a younger crowd who thinks companies are just about the money.
Yeah.
I think you need to exemplify it. You can't talk about it. Yep. You can't say one of these days, you can't put the 10 points on the board, on the wall and say, these are our values. And then not live them out.
Yes.
That's the biggest hypocrisy that we have in corporate America is that, yes, you have all that on the board. It's just nobody buys it. Nobody believes it. And nobody's walking it out. And I think we need to just walk it out. Like, hey, how are you doing, bro?
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned through reading good books and listening to the right podcasts is the concept that my company has customers, but those customers are not my customers. My customers are my employees, right? Yep. The company's job is to keep the customers happy. My job is to keep the employees happy. Yep. I keep the employees happy. The employees keep the customers, downline customers happy, and everything flows. Yep. But if I'm caring more about the downline customers than I am about the employees, then I'm actually harming the system.
Yeah, because you're always going to be like, hey, this guy didn't get, if you got people that you hire caring people and you're a caring organization, they're going to take care of that customer. If you don't hire caring people and you only care about the profits and the numbers and the KPIs and this and that, you're creating monsters because those guys are going to go out there and they're going to do whatever they want to do. Reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
Employees first, customers second, owners third. If you can't think that way, you're going to have a heck of a time building an organization because you're putting you first and your customers always come first. Put your employees first, and watch how they take care of your people, and they take care of you.
Yeah.
I look at myself, my role, I guess, more than a CEO. I look at myself as a pastor. And I gotta lead my sheep. And I gotta, that's the way I see it. I don't know how to look at it any other way, I guess, than that the numbers take care of themselves for some reason.
Yes. I mean, that doesn't mean we're ignorant.
No.
But right, it's exactly how it works. When we take care of our employees, like you put that in order perfectly, right? As the owner, I'm the last person on the list, but by putting myself last on that list, I actually come out ahead in the long run. And we have to play the long game, right? We've seen way too many big businesses go under because they're playing the short game, having to keep shareholders happy in the moment, and destroying their business in the, for the big term. Right. If we're playing the long game, if we're looking at the big picture, we're taking care of those employees because we want them to be happy. Like you mentioned earlier, you're looking for people who've held a job for a long time. In our society, the average time a person holds a job is less than 2 years now.
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody who wants to stay with me for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
That's who I want.
If you got plans to grow the organization, and that's the problem. Like I talk to people at times. When I just go around. I don't have to, I'm going to take a camera one day and just drive down and look at all the little mom and pop stores.
Yeah.
That have been there for 20 years and they're still a mom and pop store.
Yep.
You're not going to get a guy driven to come in and work for you when there's no opportunity. He's going to be there 6 months and he's going to look for the next opportunity. And I get it. Now I talked to my guy. He's got, one of my techs, his kid lives in West Palm and he lives down here. And I said, hey, if I opened up a route in West Palm, would you like to be over there closer to your kid? Yeah, but not right now because I have to take care of my dad. And his dad is down here in Miami. So I already got that in the back of my head of what's important to him.
And he knows, he hears that. He's seeing you caring about him going, hey, I'm interested in growing my business, which he's going, okay, if the business grows, I have growth potential. Yeah. And he's not only interested in growing the business, but in involving me in that growth.
Yeah.
Asking about a location I'm interested in being in.
Right.
And
it's about creating win-wins.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times we're not thinking about the win-win. We're thinking about just my win. And I think it's win-win-win. Everybody's got to win in this game. The employee has to win. The customer has to win. You have to win. Your vendors have to win. You got to build the relationships with them. So it's about managing all that. And I think that's the difficult part. Because these are all heart issues. Yes. These are not real black and white.
These aren't the tangibles that you can measure on a spreadsheet.
No, you can't. I got a lot of guys who are analytical and they're looking at it and say, look, dude, you're looking at it from a totally different perspective. You're looking at it from the analytics, and the analytics tell you you're right. However, I'm telling you the culture in your company sucks, and it's telling you you're wrong.
Yep.
And you're not getting it. But these are all heart issues. 90% of all these problems are heart issues. Finding the right person with the right heart, but we are such into a Facebook online experience age that this is getting lost, and this is why a lot of companies are in so much trouble.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back to some basics of one-on-ones. I spend a lot of time on one-on-ones. Every time I go drive with my guys, we buy lunch. And I buy them lunch. I'm out with them. They understand that I care about them. I'm not a big company. I don't have big plans. I don't have big, corporate retirement plans. But they understand that I care.
Yes.
And if I see that they care, then we're a good fit. When I see that there's no reciprocity, then I realize I just got to change that guy out. That's when I make the decision. When I'm doing things and you're like, I'm expecting it, then I know your heart's all messed up already and you don't fit the culture, even though you might be a good technician and you're doing your job. But it's going to be a one-way street where there's not going to be any reciprocity. And I think that's where it has to be. I'm going to have to get going because I got my tech downstairs waiting for me. We're going to go and hit that warehouse and figure out how we organize some things. As I'm down here. So I think this actually has been the longest podcast we've recorded. So I think it might hit my world record, bro. And serendipity, bro. I thank you so much for being on. It's been a great conversation, man. And I wish you the best luck in the world, getting everything done and being blessed out there and helping as many people as you can. Website again is
bugwranglers.com.
Bugwranglers.com. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure we get that out there, and shoot me over an image of your logo, one you want me to use for the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably run this podcast up tomorrow.
All right.
So it's going to take forever now to upload. This thing is huge.
I appreciate it, Frank.
But I appreciate it, man. It's been great, man. And come on anytime you want.
You've been one of my inspirations. So I started listening to you about 6 years ago, give or take, when I first started learning, and you were one of the first people I started listening to. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I think it's because I was the only guy to listen to it. Pest Control. But no, I really,
Brian Baird.
Yeah, Brian. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We it's funny, a story about that. We started our podcast 30 days apart. He started first.
Okay.
Yeah, and we actually got on, and then all of a sudden he thought he was going to be the only guy in the world. And I had been planning it for a year, and I just didn't have the time. And I said, I'm going to pull the trigger. I started promoting it in December. I did the intro to it, and I put it out there. And I didn't actually get to record my first podcast until May. He started in April. And I started actually broadcasting in May, and that's and we're both still running, so there's plenty of room. There's a couple of guys on here now. It's getting better, man. We're gonna have a lot of. I think this is gonna be the future of pest control training. Everybody's gonna have a podcast, but it's great. I mean, I love it. So good deal, brother.
I appreciate it and the opportunity to now be on it. I mean, it's almost like a dream come true. So
thank you, man.
Keep things rolling. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Have a great one. Bye.